Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales. Chapter 935. What do you want to do? The Imperial Preceptor stared at it vigilantly. Don't be nervous, brother is such a kind person. No, wolf, brother is such a pure and kind wolf, how could he do those dirty things, right? Wolf King said very seriously. Pure? Kind? Go to hell. Everyone present cursed in their hearts. Don't talk nonsense, hurry up. Qin Feiyang urged the Wolf King. Then, he raised his head and looked at Zhuge Mingyang, who was still kneeling in the void. Then, he entered the gate of time and space without looking back. You're lucky this time. Mu Qing looked at Zhuge Mingyang with a cold smile and followed in. Obviously. The killing intent in his heart had not disappeared. The Mu family's ancestor and second ancestor also let go of the Imperial Preceptor and stepped into the space-time gate with Yigleo, the mysterious madam, and the middle-aged man. Wolf King glanced at the audience and looked at the Imperial Preceptor again, and said with a smile, since we are old friends, then before we leave, I must give you a gift that you will never forget. His voice fell. A certain part of Wolf King's lower body suddenly shot out a stream of water. In an instant. Everyone was dumbfounded. The priest's wife and the others were also frozen in place, their cheeks twitching non-stop. You know. The other party was the Imperial Preceptor of the Great Qin Empire, and a fake god. He actually directly poured a pool of urine on his head in front of everyone. This bastard, isn't he too cheap? This so-called gift was indeed unforgettable. The Imperial Preceptor was even more dumbfounded. He knew that this ruffian wolf would definitely humiliate him, but he didn't expect it to be in such a way. What's with your expressions? Brother, this is holy water, guaranteed to cure all diseases. People who don't have a good relationship with me, even if they beg me, I won't give it to them. However, Wolf King not only didn't have the slightest sense of shame, but was also very dissatisfied with everyone's reaction. After peeing, it shook a certain part of its body a few times. Hearing this, everyone was completely speechless. According to what it said, wouldn't the Imperial Tutor be grateful to it? What a complete scoundrel. Yigleo and the others shook their heads and entered the spatial gate one after another. This was a stain that the State Preceptor would never be able to wash away in his lifetime. Although the holy water is precious, we have a good relationship. You're welcome. Everyone, we'll meet again if fate allows it. Wolf King patted the Grand Tutor's shoulder. His eyes were full of mockery. He then waved his claws at Old Man Qin and the others before slipping into the gate of time and space. The space-time gate also began to dissipate. Everyone glanced at the gate of time and space before turning to look at the Grand Tutor. Their faces were filled with sympathy. Encountering this ruffian wolf was truly his misfortune. The commander of the Kirin army stepped forward and bowed. Lord State Preceptor, do you want me to take you for a bath? Ah, the State Preceptor finally regained his senses. Smelling the stench of urine all over his body, a monstrous rage instantly rose in his heart. Damned beast, I swear I'll tear you into pieces and burn your bones to ashes, he roared angrily. To him, this was simply a great humiliation. It's finally over. Inside the spatial divine item. The old man muttered and couldn't help but let out a long breath. Is it over? No. This is just the beginning. Lu Xingchen shook his head. This is just the beginning, everyone muttered. That's right. The Emperor's edict only lasted for 10 years. Today, 10 years later, Qin Feiyang would definitely return once again. At that time, the Great Qin Empire would definitely undergo earth-shattering changes. And 10 years later, no one could predict how much Qin Feiyang would grow. Perhaps at that time, it would truly be the end. Forgotten Continent. Black Cloud Mountain. A huge stone gate appeared in the sky. Qin Feiyang and the others walked out one after another. Yiglao put away the spatial gate, looked at Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing, and said, "Everything is over, don't be distracted anymore, try to get the heaven star flame as soon as possible." Over? Qin Feiyang shook his head noncommittally, and said, "You guys go first, I want to be alone for a while." Yiglao looked at Qin Feiyang, then looked at the mysterious lady and the middle-aged man, then secretly said a few words to Mu Qing, opened a spatial gate, and left with the Mu family's great ancestor and second ancestor. The middle-aged man also looked at Qin Feiyang, then looked at the mysterious lady, and said, "I'll also leave first, don't forget what you promised me." The mysterious lady nodded. After the middle-aged man opened the spatial gate and left, the mysterious lady walked to Qin Feiyang's side and smiled, "Are you lost?" Qin Feiyang didn't deny it. 10 years was simply too short. He didn't know if he would have the strength to fight with the Imperial Preceptor by then. One must know. If he wanted to compete with the Imperial Preceptor, he must break through to the false god realm in these 10 years. And now, he was only a one-star battle saint, far from the false god realm. Breaking through to the false god realm in 10 years, even with your talent, it's almost impossible. But as long as you enter the divine ruins, everything is possible. Of course, don't give yourself too much pressure, because even if you don't break through to the false god realm, there will be someone to help you. The mysterious lady smiled faintly, and when she said the last sentence, she glanced at Mu Qing meaningfully. "I don't want others to help me. I want to rely on my own ability to overthrow them. I will definitely go to the divine ruins." Qin Feiyang clenched his hands, and a trace of determination flashed in his eyes. "You can calm down so quickly, I really didn't misjudge you. Work hard. One day, the great Qin Empire will change because of you." The mysterious lady smiled faintly, opened the teleportation door, and left without looking back. At this point, only Qin Feiyang, Wolf King, and Mu Qing were left here. Qin Feiyang glanced at Mu Qing and said, "You go back first." Mu Qing frowned and thought, "There's something I think I need to tell you." "What?" Qin Feiyang asked. Mu Qing said, "When you were unconscious, the masked old man called your mother a little special." "What did he call her?" Qin Feiyang said. Mu Qing said, "He called your mother Lord." "What?" Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled, and he suddenly turned to look at Mu Qing. Wolf King also said, "Brother was in the castle and heard it too." This, Qin Feiyang's face was full of surprise and doubt. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and he looked at Wolf King and Mu Qing angrily, saying, "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Mu Qing said helplessly, "The situation was so chaotic at that time that I completely forgot about it." "Little Qin Zi, do you know who he is?" The Wolf King looked at Su Wen curiously. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded, took a deep breath, and said with a smile in his eyes, "In this world, there is only one person who will call my mother Lord, and that is Uncle Yuan." "What? Is it that old man?" Wolf King was dumbfounded. "Yes. He is Uncle Yuan. It turns out that he has never left me and has been secretly watching me," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. This, Mu Qing and Wolf King looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. If this person was really Qin Yuan, then didn't that mean that Qin Yuan was a fake god? Oh my god. This is too amazing. Brother, why didn't I see that he was so strong before? Wolf King said in surprise. Nonsense, what was your cultivation level at that time? I guess you were not even a martial arts grandmaster. Mu Qing rolled her eyes. As a semi-divinity realm cultivator, it was easy for him to conceal his cultivation. That's true. Wolf King smiled awkwardly. Mu Qing also left, leaving only Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. A man and a wolf landed on the top of a mountain, sitting on the edge of a cliff, looking at the sky. So far, there are 5 fake gods. The foundation of the great Qin Empire is very terrifying. A moment later. Wolf King sighed. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. In the past, although he was also under pressure, he could still bear it. But now, after learning about the foundation of the imperial capital, frankly speaking, this pressure made him a little breathless. But it doesn't matter, you still have us. Let's not talk about Fatso and the others. Brother's talent is not worse than yours. When you step into the false god realm, I will definitely step into the false god realm too. When the time comes, we will go back to the imperial capital and turn it upside down. The Wolf King chuckled. Qin Feiyang glanced at it and said with a smile, "Thank you." Time flew by. The next day, early morning. After a night of settling down, Qin Feiyang's heart finally calmed down completely. Phew. He let out a long breath, got up, looked at Wolf King, and said with a smile, "I have already broken through to the Battle Saint realm one step ahead of you. You have to work harder, otherwise the gap between you and me will become bigger and bigger." TSK. Don't be so proud, I am also about to break through. Wolf King's eyes were full of disdain. Don't doubt it. Uncle Yuan personally told me that with the purple gold dragon's blood, my current cultivation speed can be doubled. Do you know what kind of concept this is? Qin Feiyang said. What? Wolf King's eyes widened in anger, and his eyeballs were about to fall out. Are you anxious now? Qin Feiyang looked at it playfully. Nonsense, quickly send me to the castle, I want to go into seclusion until death. Wolf King roared. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. With a wave of his hand, Wolf King suddenly disappeared. Then, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered for a moment before taking out the image crystal. Buzz. Not long after. A shadow appeared, it was Yan Wei. You're back? Looking at Qin Feiyang, Yan Wei was pleasantly surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, it's been hard on you to leave you alone in the trading pavilion during this period of time. I've been cultivating in the trading pavilion every day, what's there to be tired about? But you, a few days ago, there was news that you were in trouble, what happened? Yan Wei asked. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, a small accident happened, but it's already settled. That's good. Yan Wei heaved a sigh of relief. In the past few days, he had been worried about Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, the mysterious person who bought the medicinal herbs hasn't appeared yet? Yes. Yan Wei nodded. When? Who? Chapter 936. On the second day after you left. However, he used the portal to come and go, so I couldn't follow him. Yan Wei said. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, did you ask about his background? Yes. But he was very tight-lipped. No matter how much I asked, he just wouldn't tell me. Yan Wei said. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with disappointment. Yan Wei pondered for a while and said, I think it's very likely that he's from the Mu family. Why do you think so? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. You just left the Central Divine Kingdom, and he appeared right after. What does this mean? This means that he knows that you've left. And in the whole Forgotten Continent, other than me, only the Mu family knows that you've left. Yan Wei analyzed. Qin Feiyang fell into deep thought. To be honest, Yan Wei's analysis was very reasonable. He could almost conclude that it was the Mu family. But after thinking about it carefully, he felt that it didn't make sense. Because if Yan Wei could think of it, the Mu family could also think of it. Even if other people in the Mu family couldn't think of it, with Mu Qing's brain, he definitely wouldn't ignore this point. If he was Mu Qing, he definitely wouldn't go to the trading pavilion to buy herbs at this time. Because if he did that, he would expose himself. But other than the Mu family, who else could it be? After all, there was one thing that Yan Wei was right about. This time, in the whole forgotten continent, only the Mu family knew that he had returned to the great Qin Empire. It seems that no matter what, the Mu family is the prime suspect. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead, looked up at Yan Wei and asked, "Have you asked about the Mu family's address?" "Without your permission, I don't dare to act rashly, so I haven't asked about it yet," Yan Wei said. "Okay. Now your first task is to find out the Mu family's address. The sooner the better," Qin Feiyang said. "All right." Yan Wei nodded, and the shadow disappeared. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal. He lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then, he took out an illusory form pill and changed into Ancestor Mu's appearance. He then opened a portal and returned to the main tower. But he didn't return to the alchemy room in the first tower. Instead, he headed straight for the depths of the main tower. He was going to the Warrior Mountain Range. Going to the Warrior Mountain Range was naturally to find Guofeng. Because this Guofeng still owed him a rank 6 pill fire. Along the way, he had to pass by the fighting arena and martial arts treasury. Isn't that admiring the ancestors? I haven't seen him in a few days. I wonder what he's doing. Just like before, as long as Qin Feiyang appeared, it would inevitably cause a commotion. But for this, Qin Feiyang turned a blind eye to it. That's not right. Why did his aura become even stronger? He seems to have a holy aura. Could it be that he has already broken through to the Battle Saint realm? Those with sharp eyes also noticed the change in Qin Feiyang's aura, and their eyes were filled with surprise. You must be joking. He only broke through to the 9-Star War sect after entering the main tower. How long has it been? How could he break through again? You must be hallucinating. Another person followed. Is it really an illusion? Some people muttered. Qin Feiyang's speed was too fast, and basically brushed past people, so no one could carefully observe his aura. Soon, Qin Feiyang arrived in the air above the martial arts treasury. Glancing at Elder Wang who was guarding the door, he did not stop and continued to fly deeper. At the same time, Elder Wang, whose eyes were tightly shut, suddenly opened his eyes when he sensed Qin Feiyang's aura. 2 rays of light shot out. Wait! He hurriedly said. Qin Feiyang was startled. He stopped, lowered his head to look at Elder Wang, and asked suspiciously, "Is Elder Wang talking to disciple?" "Yes." Elder Wang nodded, then soared into the sky and landed in front of Qin Feiyang, sizing up Qin Feiyang. "What's the matter, Elder Wang?" Qin Feiyang became more and more puzzled, and asked. "Your aura," Elder Wang was bewildered. "So it's for this." Qin Feiyang suddenly realized, and laughed, "This disciple is lucky, I just broke through to the 1-Star War Saint." "You really broke through?" Elder Wang was dumbstruck. Wasn't this speed a little too fast? Lucky? Who would believe that? Whoosh! Elder Wang took a few deep breaths, and finally calmed down the shock in his heart. He smiled and asked, "How is the soul refining technique?" At the mention of the soul refining technique, Qin Feiyang's mind was filled with countless questions. He cupped his hands and pleaded, "I hope you can tell me the truth. What level of battle art is this soul refining technique? Didn't this old man say that it has no grade?" Elder Wang said. Qin Feiyang frowned, and said, "This disciple does not dare to doubt your words, but according to this disciple's observation, this soul refining technique does not seem to be simple." "Oh?" Elder Wang suddenly became interested, and asked, "What do you mean?" "To be honest, this disciple has many battle arts, and there is no lack of perfect battle arts. But even if these are perfect battle arts, this disciple can easily comprehend them. But this soul-refining technique, this disciple has been comprehending it for a long time, but I have no clue at all. This is obviously not normal. Qin Feiyang's brows were tightly knitted together, and he was extremely puzzled. I see. This problem, you have to solve it yourself. This old man can only tell you that the soul-refining technique is indeed a type of battle art with no grade. If you really can't comprehend it, then give up. After all, it is not a precious battle art, so there is no need to waste too much time. Elder Wang said with a smile. After saying that, he did not give Qin Feiyang a chance to ask again. He turned around and dived down, landing in front of the martial arts treasury, and sat down cross-legged, then closed his eyes. Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously, but did not pester him any further, and turned to leave. Not long after Qin Feiyang left, Elder Wang opened his eyes again, glanced around, and seeing that there was no one around, he took out the image crystal. Buzz! Very soon, the virtual image of a middle-aged man appeared. It was the Chief Pagoda Master. Elder Wang said with a smile, "Chief Pagoda Master, that kid has broken through to the Battle Sage realm." The Chief Pagoda Master was stunned, and asked, "Who is it?" "Ancestor Mu." Elder Wang said. "What? This is impossible, don't joke around." The Chief Pagoda Master stared and shook his head. "Look at this old man, do I look like I am joking? He just passed by me, and I personally confirmed it." Elder Wang said with a smile. The Chief Pagoda Master was extremely shocked. He was a very cautious person. When he had asked Gongsun Bei to look for Qin Feiyang, he had already investigated Qin Feiyang. Although he did not find out Qin Feiyang's identity, he knew Qin Feiyang's cultivation like the back of his hand. When Qin Feiyang entered the Central Divine Kingdom, he was still only an 8-star war sect. After a year of closed-door cultivation, he broke through to the 9-star war sect. And when he asked Gongsun Bei to look for Qin Feiyang, it was also when Qin Feiyang had just stepped into the 9-star war sect. In other words, it had only been 10 days since Qin Feiyang had broken through to the 9-star war sect. He broke through a realm in 10 days. How did he do it? When you made this request, it was because you didn't want to accept him as your disciple and deliberately made things difficult for him. But I didn't expect him to actually do it. Now, tell me, how do you plan to deal with it? Elder Wang looked at him mockingly. What else can I do? As the Chief Pagoda Master, I can't possibly go back on my word. The Chief Pagoda Master smiled bitterly. This time, he had really miscalculated. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and asked, "What about the soul-refining technique?" This old man also asked just now. Although he hasn't comprehended it yet, he has already discovered that the soul-refining technique is extraordinary. Elder Wang said. The Chief Pagoda Master said, "In that case, this child is indeed a promising talent. Let's not talk about the soul-refining technique for now. Just based on his talent in cultivation, he is worth us focusing on nurturing." Elder Wang said. The Chief Pagoda Master nodded his head and laughed. "It seems like you like him a lot. There's nothing I can do about it. His performance is too good. I can't help but like him." Right. So many days have passed, is there still no news of Qin Feiyang and that mysterious woman? Elder Wang frowned. No. These two seem to have evaporated into thin air. The Chief Pagoda Master shook his head. During this period of time, in order to find Qin Feiyang and the mysterious woman, he had put in a lot of effort, but there was still no news. Qin Feiyang, Elder Wang pondered for a while and said, "How about this? Let Gongsun Bei and the others stop the investigation first." The Chief Pagoda Master was stunned and asked, "Why? If it were you, facing the investigation of the chief pagoda master, would you appear? Elder Wang asked. No. The chief pagoda master shook his head. Isn't that right? Right now, Gongsun Bei is leading people to search everywhere with great fanfare. If it were anyone else, they would hide, let alone this cunning Qin Feiyang. But if we don't make a move first and wait for the news to pass, he will appear sooner or later. At that time, we will wait for the opportunity to capture him. Elder Wang said. Makes sense. The chief pagoda master nodded thoughtfully, then asked, then, should I inform Gongsun Bei now? Elder Wang nodded. Then, the two turned off the image crystal at the same time. However, they would never have thought that the person they were looking for was right beside them. At the same time, Qin Feiyang pondered as he flew toward the warrior mountain range. Although Elder Wang had repeatedly stated that the soul refining technique was a kind of unranked battle technique, he felt that Elder Wang seemed to be hiding something. What kind of secret was this soul refining technique hiding? Unknowingly, a vast mountain range entered Qin Feiyang's sight. He temporarily put aside this doubt and looked up at the mountain range. The mountain range stretched as far as the eye could see. Giant peaks stood tall, exuding a majestic aura. The mountain streams were lush with vegetation and ferocious beasts everywhere. A wide river, like a giant python, meandered across the entire mountain range. Among them, 10 giant peaks were especially special. The 10 giant peaks were of the same height, about 50 to 60,000 feet tall. They were extremely steep, like 10 giant swords, towering into the sky. On each giant peak, there were countless caves of various sizes. They looked like they were riddled with holes. However, these were not ordinary caves, but the cave dwellings of the warrior mountain range's disciples. At the top of each of the 10 giant peaks, there was a tall stone tablet. On each of the tablets, there were 3 bold and powerful words engraved on them. First peak, second peak, third peak, and finally, third peak. The 10 giant peaks formed a circle, like 10 kings standing proudly among the mountains, looking down in all directions. Chapter 937. Qin Feiyang looked at the third summit. Guofeng was the king of the third summit, so he should be in one of the cave abodes at the top. Whoosh! He turned into a ray of light and flew towards the peak of the mountain. Ancestor Mu? Why did he come to our martial artist mountain range? The disciples he met along the way all looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Swoosh! A moment later, Qin Feiyang stopped in front of the peak of the third summit, glanced at the cave abodes at the top, then closed his eyes and sensed carefully. He sensed the auras of many people, and they were basically all 9 Star War sects. However, he did not sense Guofeng's aura. Not here? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and expanded his search range. Finally, on the other side of the third summit, he sensed a familiar aura and opened his eyes. Following that, he flew around the third summit to the other side and looked at the cave abode in the center. Guofeng's aura was inside. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang landed in front of the cave abode and was about to enter, but at this moment, a familiar figure hurriedly walked out of the cave abode. It was Guofeng. When he saw Qin Feiyang standing in front of the cave abode, Guofeng was stunned. But then, his face darkened. Because he knew the purpose of Qin Feiyang's visit. Long time no see. Qin Feiyang greeted affectionately. What are you doing here? Guofeng frowned. Playing dumb? Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, then laughed. I haven't seen you for a long time, so I wanted to come and visit you. He knew how to play dumb too. Visit me? Would you be so kind? Guofeng sneered. Your words make me sad. Although I'm not a good person, I'm still someone who keeps his promises. For example, I've always kept my mouth shut about you harassing Chu Xian. Qin Feiyang laughed. The meaning behind his words was obvious. If he continued to play dumb, then don't blame him for being ruthless. Guo Feng's face sank, and a shocking cold light flashed in the depths of his eyes. But he didn't say anything. He took out an iron box and threw it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang grabbed the iron box and opened the lid. Inside lay a cluster of alchemy fire. Next, he cut his finger and dripped a drop of blood to claim ownership. After the blood contract was completed and he confirmed that it was a grade 6 alchemy fire, he put it away. I've already given you what you want. I hope you can keep your word. Guo Feng said solemnly. That depends on my mood. Qin Feiyang chuckled, then turned around and left. Be as arrogant as you want. It won't be long before I take it back with interest. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back, Guo Feng's eyes flashed with a cold light. He then turned into a stream of light and headed deeper into the mountain range. Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked at Guo Feng in confusion. Then, he flashed into the castle. Fatso and the others were cultivating. Qin Feiyang didn't disturb them. He looked at the Spirit Snake Emperor and said, "You go and monitor Guo Feng." Why? The Spirit Snake Emperor looked at him suspiciously. This person will definitely not let it go, so I need to clearly grasp his every move. Qin Feiyang said. This guy really does things flawlessly. The Spirit Snake Emperor muttered secretly. The longer it stayed with Qin Feiyang, the more terrifying it felt. But what was terrifying was not Qin Feiyang's methods, but his meticulous nature and mind. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the Spirit Snake Emperor out of the castle. With the Spirit Serpent Emperor on his side, he could rest assured. Next, he took out 3 clusters of grade 6 alchemy fire. One of them was a grade 6 alchemy fire, which was left behind by Pei Zhangfeng. The other 2 were given to him by Guo Feng. It could be said that Guo Feng had contributed a lot to the upgrade of the Nether Devil Flame to grade 7. Soon, the Nether Devil Flame swallowed the 3 types of alchemy fire one after another, and its aura instantly soared by a large amount. Fatso and the others were all awakened by this aura. Looking at the current Nether Devil Flame, their eyes were filled with fear. This was because the current Nether Devil Flame posed an extremely strong threat to them. Little Qin Zi, why do I feel that the Nether Devil Flame has a faint holy might? Wolf King was surprised. The grade of the alchemy flame corresponds to our cultivation, Li Mu said. Grade 1 alchemy fire is equivalent to a martial artist. Grade 2 alchemy fire is equivalent to a martial master. And grade 7 alchemy fire is equivalent to a war sage. It is equivalent to a sacred object, so it naturally contains a holy might. Qin Feiyang laughed. Wolf King's face froze, and said, so you're saying, just this Nether Devil Flame is enough to instantly kill a 9-star war sect? Not one, but a group. As long as the Nether Devil Flame is revived, no matter how many 9-star war sects come, they will all die. Qin Feiyang said. But just as he finished speaking, a trace of bewilderment suddenly crept up in his eyes. What is it? Wolf King asked in bewilderment. Qin Feiyang did not answer and closed his eyes. Ever since the Spirit Snake Emperor left, he had been spying on the Spirit Snake Emperor's inner thoughts. The reason he did this was not to guard against the Spirit Serpent Emperor. Instead, he wanted to know what Guo Feng was doing through the Spirit Serpent Emperor. This sounded a bit mysterious, but it was indeed possible. Because, after the Spirit Snake Emperor followed Guo Feng, some thoughts would inevitably emerge in his heart. Through the Spirit Serpent Emperor's inner thoughts, he could indirectly see what Guo Feng was doing at that moment. In other words, the Spirit Snake Emperor was equivalent to a medium to convey information. And just now, he found out through the Spirit Snake Emperor's inner thoughts that Guofeng had arranged to meet Guiyun somewhere. Moreover, what did he seem to be plotting? You guys continue to cultivate, I'm going out for a while. A moment later. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes, said something to Fatso and the rest, and hurriedly left the castle. The castle that was exposed to the outside would automatically fall. Therefore, the place he appeared now was in a dense forest below the mountain stream. He glanced around, restrained his aura, and rushed in the direction Guofeng had gone. Not long after. He left the warrior mountain range and appeared in front of a mountain ridge. Then, he rushed up the mountain ridge, stood at a commanding point, and looked ahead. However, in front of him, there were mountains and lush vegetation, and there was no way to find Guofeng. Why are you here? But at this moment, a cold voice entered Qin Feiyang's mind. Spirit Snake Emperor? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He lowered his head and saw a green silhouette leaping out from the forest below. At this moment, its entire body was green, and even its eyes were green. If it was mixed in with the leaves and grass, it would definitely be impossible to find it. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, I'm worried about you, so I followed to take a look. Worried? Don't give me that. I think you're questioning my ability to do things. Spirit Snake Emperor looked at him unhappily. I'll question anyone, but I won't question your ability. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Spirit Snake Emperor said coldly, I'm not going to talk nonsense with you, I was just about to go back and report to you. Qin Feiyang didn't beat around the bush and waved his hand, no need to report, lead the way, I want to see what they are planning. You know, even without reporting, do you know how to pinch your fingers to read fortunes? Spirit Snake Emperor was shocked. I don't know how to pinch my fingers to read fortunes, but I can see what you're thinking. Qin Feiyang laughed. This, Spirit Snake Emperor was stunned and muttered, so that's how it is. Then, it turned around and led Qin Feiyang into the forest below and flew forward. After flying for a while, Spirit Snake Emperor suddenly sent a sound transmission, I say, can you not peek into my thoughts in the future? I feel so uncomfortable. I'm not a peeping Tom. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. I think you are. Spirit Snake Emperor stopped and turned to glare at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang quickly said, okay, I promise you, I won't peek into your thoughts in the future, okay? That's more like it. Spirit Snake Emperor smiled proudly and continued to lead the way. Looking at Spirit Snake Emperor's appearance, Qin Feiyang was very depressed. Who was the master here? Why did he feel that he didn't have any dignity at all? Of course. It was precisely because he didn't have any master's arrogance and never threatened or tempted others that Yen Wei and the black dragon snake and other beasts would follow him wholeheartedly. If it was another attitude, everyone would probably have rebelled. In fact, this was a way of life. If you treat others well, others will naturally repay you double. About 20 breaths. The Spirit Serpent Emperor brought Qin Feiyang to the edge of the forest. They stood behind a bush and looked ahead. Not far away, there was a lake. The lake was about 1,000 feet long and the water was clear and sparkling. The shore of the lake was overgrown with weeds that were about a meter tall. Obviously, very few people set foot here. And on top of a blue stone by the lake, a figure stood. It was Guofeng. His back was facing Qin Feiyang and Spirit Snake Emperor. He lowered his head and scanned the lake. No one knew what he was thinking about. Swish. Soon, a figure descended above the lake. It was a purple-clothed young man with a tall and straight figure, bright eyes and white teeth, and an outstanding temperament. You're here. Guofeng finally raised his head and looked at the purple-clothed young man. And the purple-clothed young man was the king of the second tower, Guiyun. Guiyun nodded and landed in front of Guofeng. He frowned and said, what's the matter that made you look for me in such a hurry? Ancestor Mu came in the end. Guofeng said in a low voice. Guiyun raised his brows and said, You gave it to him? Guofeng said gloomily, I had no choice but to give it to him. Isn't this all your fault? Why did you look for Chu Xian for no reason? Her family is just a small tribe. She has no value at all. Guiyun said angrily. There was also a trace of anger in Guofeng's eyes. It has already happened. What's the point of saying this now? Guiyun said, I'm just reminding you to be more careful in the future. Then, he paused and said, No matter what, we've finally settled this matter with Ancestor Mu. Although we lost 2 clusters of 6th grade pill fire, it's worth it. Now, what you have to do is to settle Pei Yu as soon as possible. Not necessarily. Guofeng shook his head. What do you mean? Guiyun frowned. Guofeng said, Ancestor Mu is a greedy and insatiable person. I'm worried that he might use this matter to blackmail me. Even if he doesn't blackmail me, what if he tells Pei Yi about it one day? Our efforts would go to waste. Guiyun's eyes turned slightly gloomy, and he asked, What do you mean? Kill him and get rid of all future troubles. Chapter 938. Kill me? Qin Feiyang frowned. This Guofeng was quite bold. He actually wanted to get rid of him. At the same time, Guiyun fell into deep thought when he heard this. A moment later, he looked up at Guofeng and said in a low voice, According to the members of the First Pagoda, Ancestor Mu is very powerful and Pei Yi values him greatly. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get rid of him. Of course I know that. But we can use a soft method. Guofeng said. A soft method? Guiyun was doubtful. Guofeng said, In a few days, I'll invite him to a banquet and take the initiative to show my goodwill. Then, I'll take the opportunity to poison him at the table. Poison him? This, Guiyun frowned. Guofeng said, I know this method is a little despicable, but it doesn't matter to someone like him. Are you sure you want to do this? Guiyun looked at him with hesitation in his eyes. I'm sure. And I've already thought about what poison to use. Guofeng nodded. What poison? Guiyun asked. The venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion. Guofeng said word by word with a cold glint in his eyes. Guiyun's pupils constricted. He seemed to be very wary of the venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion. Next, the two of them secretly discussed for a while more before leaving. The Spirit Serpent Emperor asked, Qin Feiyang, what is the bloodthirsty scorpion? Qin Feiyang said, It's a poisonous creature from 10,000 years ago. It's very scary. How scary? The Spirit Serpent Emperor was curious. Qin Feiyang said, The antidote pill can't remove it. Once poisoned, you'll die within 3 breaths. What? The Spirit Serpent Emperor was shocked. In this world, there was actually poison that couldn't be removed by the antidote pill? The Spirit Serpent Emperor asked, Then what do you plan to do? I didn't want to deal with them at first, but they were too insensible. They actually wanted to plot against me. And they used such a despicable and vicious method. In that case, this time, I'll get rid of all of them and make the Scorpion tribe disappear completely. Qin Feiyang said with a bone-chilling killing intent in his tone. The Spirit Serpent Emperor asked, So, you've already thought of a plan? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Ugh. Spirit Serpent Emperor was stunned. He hadn't even thought of a way to deal with it, yet he had already said such big words. This was a little ridiculous. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. The Spirit Serpent Emperor also tactfully fell silent. Time passed by slowly. After a few hundred breaths, Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly flashed with a bright light. Have you thought of it? Spirit Serpent Emperor hurriedly asked. Qin Feiyang nodded, a cold smile appearing in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, Fatso appeared out of thin air. As soon as Fatso came out, he said impatiently, "What are you doing?" "Fat Lord is going into seclusion." Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. It seemed like Fatso was starting to get anxious after learning about the benefits of the purple gold dragon blood. "I'll go into seclusion after this matter is settled," Qin Feiyang said. "What is it?" Fatso was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, "Help me find a spider called Blood Soul Spider." Blood Soul Spider? Fatso was slightly stunned and asked, "What's the use of it?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "The Blood Soul Spider is also a highly poisonous creature from 10,000 years ago. It's even stronger than the bloodthirsty scorpion." Fatso's pupils shrank and he said in surprise, "Why are you looking for it?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Of course it's to neutralize the venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion." "What do you mean?" Fatso was more and more confused. Although the venom of the Blood Soul Spider and the bloodthirsty scorpion is enough to kill people, if you swallow these two venoms at the same time, it will have the effect of neutralizing the toxicity. In short, the combination of the venom of these two creatures is equivalent to the antidote. Qin Feiyang explained. This, Fatso and the Spirit Snake Emperor looked at each other. Was this the legendary, fight poison with poison? Fatso frowned and said, "Then where is Fat Lord going to find this Blood Soul Spider?" "If I knew, why would I ask you out?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Fatso pursed his lips and said helplessly, "All right, I'll go ask Li He first." After saying that, he opened a portal and left. When the portal disappeared, Qin Feiyang looked at the Spirit Snake Emperor and said with a smile, "Let's go and find that key person." "What key person?" The Spirit Snake Emperor was suspicious. "A person who can crush anyone into pieces." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He changed into a clean set of clothes and opened a portal. The Spirit Snake Emperor looked at him in confusion and then shrank its body, turning into a stream of light and coiled around Qin Feiyang's index finger. The color of its skin quickly turned silver without any impurities. At first glance, Qin Feiyang looked like he was wearing an exquisite ring. Qin Feiyang raised his hand and shook his index finger. He nodded and said with a smile, "Your ability to change color is really good. Are you jealous? But this is something that can't be envied." The Spirit Snake Emperor smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He retracted his aura to the extreme and entered the portal. At the next moment, he descended on a street. On the street, there was an endless stream of people. And right in front of him, there was a restaurant with dragons and phoenixes. It was the Dragon Phoenix restaurant. Although it was still morning and not meal time, there were many people entering and leaving the restaurant. Qin Feiyang tidied his clothes and strode into the Dragon Phoenix restaurant. "Young Master Mu, what a rare guest. What have you been busy with recently?" Perhaps in Brother Mu's eyes, this is just a small matter, but in our eyes, this is a very inconceivable thing. The young man smiled bitterly. "Yes, the young lady of the Longfeng Pavilion is arrogant and mysterious. Think about it, over the years, I don't know how many people have tried their best to see her, but they have always been rejected. Even young Master Hao couldn't move her. Thus, to be able to obtain her approval is not an easy task." The other guests next to them couldn't help but sigh. Qin Feiyang glanced at these people with a hint of disdain in the depths of his eyes. Wasn't it just a woman? Was there a need to be like this? He couldn't figure out what was in these people's minds all day long. The young man put down the wine cup and sincerely cupped his hands. "Brother Mu, I really hope that you can solve the doubts in our hearts." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "It's not a secret, so there's no harm in telling you. The answer I gave is that since ancient times, kings have been fickle, and the most ruthless royal family. Since ancient times, kings have been fickle, and the most ruthless royal family. Everyone immediately fell into deep thought. They remembered that in that painting, there were mountains and rivers, people at dawn, ferocious beasts, and slaughter, and in the sky, there was a five-clawed golden dragon floating, looking down at all of this coldly. I understand. Since ancient times, the symbol of every king is a five-clawed golden dragon, so that five-clawed golden dragon represents the king. And the mountains and rivers, the common people, and the slaughter represent everything in the world. That five-clawed golden dragon is high up in the sky, looking down at all of this coldly. This reflects one word: ruthless. Since ancient times, kings have been fickle, and the most ruthless royal family. This sentence just so happens to fully explain the true meaning of that painting. Brother Mu is really brilliant to be able to think of this answer. I admire you. The young man cupped his hands and smiled. The others also understood and cast admiring gazes at Qin Feiyang one after another. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He didn't expect that an answer would actually cause a sensation. He picked up the wine cup and was about to drink it, but at this moment, a hearty laugh came from outside the door. Hee hee. What's going on today? It's so lively so early in the morning. Before he finished speaking, a young man in embroidered clothes entered the Dragon Phoenix house. Behind him, there was a large group of young men and women. Chapter 939. Are you finally here? Qin Feiyang muttered as a bright light flickered in the depths of his eyes. The leader was none other than young Master Hao. And this time, he came to the Dragon Phoenix house precisely to wait for this young Master Hao. But he didn't take the initiative to greet him. Because he knew that young Master Hao would take the initiative to greet him. Sure enough. When he saw Qin Feiyang, a smile crept onto young Master Hao's face, and he said, Brother Mu, may I have the honor to invite you up for a few drinks? These words were quite polite. Is that necessary? The group of young men and women behind him raised their eyebrows without leaving a trace. In their opinion, Qin Feiyang was indeed a talent, but compared to them, he was still far from being worthy of sitting with them. Not to mention sitting with them and drinking. But this was young Master Hao's invitation, and they didn't dare to refute it. Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at young Master Hao, and then glanced at the group of young men and women. Over the years, what kind of people had he not seen? Looking at the eyes of the group of young men and women, he could guess what these people were thinking. However, young Master Hao was very sincere in inviting him. Mu, didn't you hear young Master Hao's words? One of the women with heavy makeup saw that Qin Feiyang didn't speak for a long time, and a trace of impatience crept onto her face. Her tone was also very cold. I'm not deaf, of course I heard it. However, I know my place, and I don't deserve to sit with you disciples of famous sections. If young Master Hao wants to have a few drinks with me, then you can only lower yourself and sit in this hall. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. It could be seen that these people were all vain people, so he might as well satisfy their vanity. Sure enough. Hearing his words, the group of young men and women all had bright smiles on their faces. At the same time, the disdain on their faces became even stronger. What was young Master Hao's identity? He actually made young Master Hao lower himself and sit in this hall. Was it possible? To think that this person dared to open his mouth. Who did he think he was? Young Master Hao stared at Qin Feiyang in a complicated way, nodded, smiled and said, All right, let's drink to our heart's content in this hall today. After saying that, he walked towards Qin Feiyang. What? The group of young men and women were petrified. The other guests in the hall, as well as the waiters in the restaurant, were also in disbelief. This was because many people knew that young Master Hao had never stayed in the hall before. This was his first time. This ancestor Mu really had too much face to let young Master Hao break the precedent. Young Master Hao, isn't this inappropriate? The gorgeous woman caught up with young Master Hao and said with a frown. What's wrong? If you can't swallow your pride, you can go to the private room upstairs. Anyway, don't spoil my fun. Young Master Hao said without looking back. Then, he walked straight to Qin Feiyang. The young man from the very beginning also immediately picked up his wine jug and wine cup and stood up to give up his seat. Please have a seat. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand and said with a smile. Young Master Hao smiled faintly and sat opposite Qin Feiyang. The group of young men and women looked at each other and finally walked to Qin Feiyang's table. Wait. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand and said with a smile, I didn't ask you to sit. Why? Are you afraid that we'll eat and drink your food? Don't worry. You don't need to pay a single gold coin today. All the expenses will be on us. The young men snorted coldly. It's just a gold coin. I don't care about it. I'm just worried that sitting with a country bumpkin like me will bring shame to your young masters and young mistresses. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The group of young men and women's faces immediately darkened. Obviously, he didn't give them any face. Young Master Hao waved his hand and said, That's enough. Just find a seat and don't make a fuss. Since young Master Hao had spoken, these people naturally didn't dare to make a fuss. There was an empty table at the side. A group of people sat around the table, their faces full of anger. Although they didn't say anything now, this grudge had been formed. The waiters of the restaurant also became busy. After all, these people were not only regulars here, but also disciples of famous families in the city. They didn't dare to neglect them. One of the waiters brought a set of clean cutlery and wine glasses to young Master Hao. Before leaving, he gave Qin Feiyang a look of admiration. In this divine city, only Qin Feiyang dared to treat these foppish disciples with such an attitude. Young Master Hao said suspiciously, Brother Mu, I heard that you've been cultivating in seclusion. How come you're free to come to the Dragon Phoenix restaurant today? I don't have time to be free. I'm just relaxing appropriately. Qin Feiyang picked up the wine pot containing the dragon's wine and stood up to pour wine for young Master Hao while shaking his head and smiling. That's true. Relaxing appropriately is helpful for cultivation. However, you're still not telling the truth. Young Master Hao transmitted his voice meaningfully. Qin Feiyang was slightly startled. He returned to his seat and thought to himself, what do you mean by that? Brother Mu, don't play dumb. Although you're hiding it very well, I've already heard from my father that you've already broken through to the War Saint realm. I believe that I'll have another junior brother soon. Young Master Mu transmitted his voice with a smile. You found out so quickly? Qin Feiyang was surprised. It seemed like Elder Wang had told the chief pagoda master. I have to thank you for this. Without your help, even if I broke through to the War King, I might not be able to become the chief pagoda master's disciple. Let me toast to young Master Hao. Qin Feiyang raised his wine cup and laughed. Brother Mu, you're too polite. I'm just an introducer. What really moved my father was your hard work. Congratulations. Young Master Hao also raised his wine cup. Clang. The two of them lightly clinked their wine cups, and then drank it all in one gulp. Next. Young Master Hao transmitted his voice, Brother Mu, I have some doubts in my heart, can you answer them for me? Please speak, young master. Qin Feiyang said. Young Master Hao waved his hand and said, Sigh, don't call me young master, if you don't mind, just call me brother. Qin Feiyang laughed out loud, this is my honor. You. It doesn't look like you're trying to curry favor with me. But if you say you're not trying to curry favor with me, it's a little like you're trying to curry favor with me. Tell me, why are you so hard to see through? Young Master Hao shook his head, feeling rather helpless. Qin Feiyang said, "This is because we haven't opened our hearts yet, so we can't be considered true friends." Young Master Hao said, "Then tell me, when can we be honest with each other?" Time. Because only time can let you clearly recognize a person. Qin Feiyang said. Young Master Hao was startled, and laughed bitterly. "Chatting with you is really too tiring. Let's not talk nonsense. I want to know, how did you manage to break through from the 9-Star War sect to the War Sage in a mere 10 days? Young Master Hao looked at him suspiciously, with a trace of anticipation. Of course. These words were also transmitted in secret. This, Qin Feiyang hesitated for a moment, then laughed. "I can only say that I was lucky and obtained a good fortune." However, hearing this, young Master Hao's expression immediately became serious, and he said with a sound transmission, "Brother Mu, I know it's very impolite to inquire about your privacy like this, but I really hope that you can be honest with me." Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Sigh. Young Master Hao sighed deeply and asked, "Can you see through my cultivation?" Qin Feiyang seriously observed young Master Hao for a moment, and said, 9-Star War sect. Yes. To be honest, my talent isn't bad. I've already stepped into the 9-Star War sect after cultivating for less than 100 years. However, ever since I stepped into the 9-Star War sect, I felt as if I had encountered a bottleneck and was unable to break through. Young Master Hao sighed, looking somewhat disappointed. So it's like that. Qin Feiyang was suddenly enlightened, and then asked in confusion, "Head Pagoda Master's cultivation is profound, why don't you ask him for help? Is it useful to look for him?" Of course. If I was just a martial warrior, martial master, or martial sect, it would definitely be useful to look for him. Because he can help me refine a high-quality scarlet fire glass pill and help me break through. But now that I am a 9-Star War sect, I have never heard of any pill that can allow me to break through the shackles of the War sect and directly step into the War Saint. To be honest, I've already been trapped in the 9-Star War sect for several years. I'm really on the verge of despair. Young Master Hao said dejectedly. Qin Feiyang fell silent. A moment later. A light flashed in his eyes as he sent a sound transmission. "I can help you break through to the War Saint realm, but you have to promise to do 2 things for me." Really? Young Master Hao's gaze trembled as he looked at him longingly. Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right. As long as you can help me break through to the War Saint realm, not to mention 2 things, even 200 things won't be a problem." Young Master Hao sent a sound transmission, his breathing somewhat hurried. "First, you can't tell anyone that I helped you break through to the War Saint realm, including your father." Qin Feiyang said. "That's not a problem." Young Master Hao said without hesitation. Qin Feiyang said, "Second, I want you to help me eradicate the remnants of the Scorpion tribe." Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows, and thought to himself, "Why? Do they have a grudge against you?" "Of course there's a grudge. Otherwise, why would I eradicate them?" Qin Feiyang said. "This is not a small matter. Let's not talk about the others in the Scorpion tribe, just Guoyun and Guofeng, these 2 are the kings of the main tower. Even if it's me, I can't make a decision on my own." Young Master Hao sent a sound transmission. Qin Feiyang said, "I know that, but what if they poisoned you first?" "Poison me?" The more young Master Hao heard, the more puzzled he became. One had to know. He was the son of the chief pagoda master. Even if Guoyun and Guofeng borrowed courage from the heavens, they wouldn't dare to poison him. But what did Qin Feiyang mean by that? Qin Feiyang said, "Don't worry about why I asked you that, just answer me. If they poison you first, can you get rid of them?" "Nonsense. If they dare to harm me, I will make sure that none of them will live to see the sun tomorrow." Young Master Hao's words were very domineering, but he did have the qualifications to do so. That's good. In a few days, Guofeng will invite me to a banquet. At that time, I would like to ask you to do this, next. Qin Feiyang said a lot to young Master Hao, and these words were all secretly transmitted, so only young Master Hao knew about it. In the blink of an eye. 3 days passed. Alchemy Room 10 of the first tower. Qin Feiyang stood in the alchemy room, completely focused on refining the battle chi pill. After all, with the addition of the Ghost Snake Emperor, the number of battle chi pills he needed was even more than before, so he had to prepare enough battle chi pills at all times. Schwa. At noon. Fatso appeared out of thin air in the alchemy room, hurriedly ran to Qin Feiyang's side, and said, "Boss, found it." As he spoke, he took out a transparent glass bottle, only the size of a thumb, half filled with blood-red liquid. Qin Feiyang ignored Fatso. After the battle chi pill was out of the furnace, he took the glass bottle and pulled out the cork. A pungent stench immediately rushed into his nostrils, making him feel nauseous. Holding his breath and carefully observing for a moment, Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "It is indeed the venom of the blood soul spider. Where did you get it?" "Fire Phoenix Mountain Range. It took a lot of effort to get it." Fatso chuckled. Qin Feiyang looked at Fatso, only to see that Fatso's clothes were ragged, and the blood on his wounds had not even dried. Obviously, he had suffered a lot in the Fire Phoenix Mountain Range. "You've worked hard." Patting Fatso's shoulder, Qin Feiyang put away the jade bottle. "What are you going to do now?" Fatso asked. "Nothing, just wait for Guofeng to come to me." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly, then he took out an image crystal and sent a message to Yan Wei. Soon, Yan Wei's image appeared. "Have you found out the address of the Mu family?" Qin Feiyang asked. Yan Wei said in a deep voice, "No, there are many people who know the existence of the Mu family, but no one knows where they are." Qin Feiyang's brows suddenly tightened. Fatso glanced at Qin Feiyang, then looked at Yan Wei and said, "Li He also doesn't know?" Yan Wei shook his head and said, "According to Li He, only the Pill Tower's chief pagoda and his confidants know where the Mu family is." "That's troublesome," Fatso muttered. It was much more difficult to pry open the chief pagoda's mouth than prying open Li He's mouth. Suddenly, Fatso seemed to have thought of something, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "By the way, boss, why don't you ask young Master Hao, maybe he also knows." Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, looked up at Yan Wei and said, "You don't have to investigate this matter anymore, I'll handle it." "Okay." Yan Wei nodded. Dong. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Qin Feiyang and Fatso looked at the stone door of the cultivation room at the same time. Could it be Guofeng? "I still have something to do, you be careful in the trading pavilion." Qin Feiyang reminded Yan Wei and turned off the image crystal, then sent Fatso to the castle. Then, with a wave of his hand, the stone door slowly opened, and a familiar face came into sight. It was Guofeng. "It's you?" But Qin Feiyang pretended to be surprised. "What? Am I not welcome?" Guofeng said with a cold face. "Senior brother Guofeng personally came to find me, this is my honor, how can I not welcome you? Come in quickly." Qin Feiyang smiled and then stepped aside. Guofeng looked at the alchemy room and shook his head, "Let's not talk too much, this time I came to invite you to Longfeng House for a few drinks." "Huh?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and couldn't recover for a long time. "I know, with our relationship, you will definitely suspect that this may be a trap. But this time, I came to invite you with sincerity. Because there is a good saying, it is better to squash enmity than keep it alive, so I want to be friends with you, I just don't know if you are willing to give me this face." Guofeng cupped his hands and said, his face full of sincerity. If Qin Feiyang didn't know Guofeng's plan in advance, he might have been deceived by this hypocritical face. This, Qin Feiyang sneered in his heart, but his face revealed a hesitant expression. It seems that I don't have the chance to be friends with you. Sorry to disturb you. Guofeng sighed deeply with a trace of regret on his face. Then, he cupped his hands and turned to leave. It's a pity that you don't want to be an actor. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, Senior brother Guofeng, wait. What's the matter? Guofeng stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. To be honest, I really can't believe that you can say such words, so I have a doubtful attitude. But I can see sincerity on your face. Since you have already let it go, wouldn't it seem that I am not magnanimous if I still haggle over it? So, I will be friends with you. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Guofeng immediately revealed a friendly smile and asked, what about the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Friendliness was just a facade, and under this facade, there was a murderous knife hidden. Go, of course I have to go. Wait for me first, let me change my clothes. I have been refining pills these days and my body is covered in dust. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he closed the stone door. Friends? Humph, do you really think that I want to be friends with you? Don't be naive. Chapter 940. At the same time. Inside the alchemy room. Qin Feiyang's eyes also turned cold. This Guofeng really knew how to pretend. He took out the image crystal and his battle chi surged. Buzz. Soon. A young man in white appeared in the air. It was young Master Hao. 3 days ago. In order to facilitate communication, he and young Master Hao established a contract bridge. Is he here? Young Master Hao asked. Yeah, he invited me to the Dragon Phoenix house. Qin Feiyang laughed. Young Master Hao said, have you found the Blood Soul Spider's venom? Found it. Don't worry, I won't let you be in any danger. Of course, I don't dare to let anything happen to you. After all, I don't want to be hunted down by the Chief Pagoda Master. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. As long as you know. You can go first, send me a message later. Young Master Hao said. Qin Feiyang nodded. The two of them turned off the image crystal at the same time. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, killing intent flashed in his eyes, and he changed into a clean set of clothes. Next. He opened the stone door and walked out of the alchemy room. The killing intent in Guofeng's eyes had already been hidden, and he appeared to be extremely friendly, but in reality, he was afraid that Qin Feiyang would change his mind at the last minute. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, let's go. Guofeng opened the teleportation gate to show his politeness and let Qin Feiyang enter first. Qin Feiyang chuckled and walked into the teleportation gate. Dragon Phoenix house. In front of the door. 2 people appeared out of thin air. The 2 waiters standing at the door were surprised to see Qin Feiyang and Guofeng standing together. Why were the 2 of them walking together? But the waiter also knew what to ask and what not to ask. A waiter greeted them with a flattering smile, young masters, please come in. Guofeng said, take us to the private room. Okay. The waiter immediately turned around and led the way. 4th floor. Private room number 3. The waiter pushed open the door and retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang and the other person entered the private room and carefully scanned the room. Inside the private room, there was an independent tea room, dining room, and bedroom. Although the decorations were not luxurious, it was very clean and tidy. Are the 2 young masters satisfied? The man asked with a smile. Yes. Guofeng nodded. The waiter asked, what would you like to order? Guofeng smiled faintly and said, 2 pots of dragon's wine. As for the rest, you can do as you deem fit. All right. The shop assistant nodded, bowed, and left. Guofeng's eyes flashed as he pointed at the tea house and said with a smile, "Junior brother Mu, shall we go and have some tea first?" "Sure." Qin Feiyang readily agreed. He didn't seem to be on guard at all. The two of them walked into the tea room and sat opposite each other in front of the coffee table. Guofeng personally cleaned the tea set, boiled the water, and brewed the tea. Not long after, the boiling teapot emitted a refreshing tea fragrance. Although Qin Feiyang had a defenseless appearance from beginning to end, he had actually been secretly paying attention to Guofeng's every move. This was because poisoning could not only be done on the dining table, but also in the tea. However, during the entire process of Guofeng making tea, he didn't notice any small movements from Guofeng. "Please." Guofeng picked up a teacup and handed it to Qin Feiyang with both hands. Qin Feiyang took it in his hands, put it at the tip of his nose and smelled it. After tasting it, he nodded and smiled, a mellow fragrance, flowing between the teeth, and also carrying a hint of orchids, not bad. Guofeng was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "It seems that senior brother Mu likes to drink tea very much." Qin Feiyang laughed. "To be honest, I am not interested in wine, but I have a special liking for tea." "So it's like that." Guofeng revealed a look of understanding, and then a light flashed in the depths of his eyes. He took out the qianquan bag, as if he was looking for something. Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. "Found it." A moment later, Guofeng raised his head and smiled at Qin Feiyang. He took out a tea set from the qianquan bag and placed it on the tea table. Qin Feiyang looked down, and there was a trace of surprise in his eyes. This tea set consisted of a teapot and 6 teacups. It was emerald green, like jade, with a hazy luster, without any flaws. This tea set is made of Qinghai nephrite, called Qinghai jiaojiao. Using this Qinghai jiaojiao to make tea can completely remove the impurities in the tea leaves and make the tea more fragrant. Since junior brother Qin likes to drink tea so much, I will give this tea set to you. Guofeng laughed. Qinghai nephrite, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he quickly waved his hand. "This is too precious, I can't accept it. This kind of jade could be called the best jade. A fingertip of it was enough to let an ordinary person live a worry-free life for several lifetimes." And among the royal family and nobles, Qinghai nephrite was also a symbol of status. It was said that the imperial jade seal of the Great Qin Empire was made of Qinghai nephrite. One could imagine how valuable this tea set was. No matter how precious something is, it needs to be used by someone to show its extraordinariness. And to tell you the truth, junior brother Qin, I don't like drinking tea very much, so it will only be a pearl covered in dust if I keep it. So, junior brother Qin, don't refuse." Guofeng carefully pushed the teapot and teacups to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was a little hesitant. To be honest, he was a little tempted. Because as Guofeng said, the tea set made of Qinghai nephrite could indeed remove the impurities and odors in the tea leaves, making the tea more mellow and pure. It was no exaggeration to say that even the inferior tea leaves could be used to make the best tea. It could be said that this set of Qinghai jiaojiao was something that countless tea drinkers dreamed of. But the problem was that he didn't know whether Guofeng had done anything to this tea set. Seeing this, Guofeng looked dissatisfied and said, "If you still think of me as a friend, take it." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's right. Come on, now I'll use this Qinghai jiaojiao to make a pot of good tea for you. By the way, I'll let you check it out." Guofeng smiled and began to clean the tea set. Qin Feiyang smiled but didn't say anything, carefully paying attention to Guofeng's every move. At last, until Guofeng finished making the tea, he didn't find anything strange. "Try it." Guofeng picked up the teapot, poured a cup, and pushed it in front of Qin Feiyang. Then he poured another cup for himself, raised his head and drank it up, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "The taste is really much better than before." Seeing this, Qin Feiyang completely let go of his doubts. Guofeng dared to drink it directly, so there must be no problem with the tea set. Guofeng probably gave him the Qinghai Jiaojiao just to let him completely relax his vigilance. Then, Qin Feiyang also picked up the teacup, put it to his mouth, and tasted it. There was a trace of shock on his face. This pot of tea and the previous pot of tea were made of the same tea leaves. However, the taste was completely different. It was mellower and sweeter. And it also had the smell of the sea, which made people feel relaxed and couldn't help but be intoxicated. "How is it?" "I didn't lie to you," Guofeng said with a smile. Qin Feiyang laughed. This tea set was indeed made of Qinghai nephrite. Because when he was a child, he also used this kind of tea set in the imperial palace, so it was not difficult to distinguish. Dong! At this moment, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." Guofeng looked at the door and said. The waiter pushed the door and entered, followed by more than a dozen staff members, each of whom was holding a plate of delicious dishes in their hands. "Please enjoy, young masters." After putting the dishes on the table one by one, the waiter led the staff members out of the elegant room and closed the door. "Brother Qin, please." Guofeng got up and stretched out his hand with a smile. "Please." Qin Feiyang also got up and made a gesture of invitation. Then the two of them walked to the table together. After sitting down, Guofeng picked up the wine pot and said, "Let's make it clear first. Today we are going to get drunk, so we can't use battle qi to dissolve the alcohol." "Of course," Qin Feiyang said without hesitation with a smile. At their level, no matter how strong the wine was, it couldn't make them drunk. Because as long as they activated their battle qi, they could instantly evaporate all the alcohol. And Guofeng said so because he wanted to get Qin Feiyang drunk and then find an opportunity to make a move. Qin Feiyang's answer was also to reassure Guofeng. But in fact, the two of them were secretly activating their battle qi to dissolve the alcohol and stay sober. The two of them drank while talking and laughing. They didn't mention the previous grudges again. If people who didn't know saw this scene, they would really think that the two of them were old friends for many years. In less than an hour, the two of them finished 2 pots of dragon's wine and ordered 2 more pots. Gradually, Qin Feiyang began to show signs of drunkenness, and his words became more and more unscrupulous. "Brother Gua, I'll be honest with you. I used to hate you very much." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said. "Why?" Guofeng looked at him in confusion. His eyes were also hazy with drunkenness. "Because you are the king of the third peak. You are arrogant and condescending. However, after getting along with you now, I realize that you are quite a nice person," Qin Feiyang said. Guofeng laughed and whispered into Qin Feiyang's ear, "Brother, to be honest, I used to hate you too." Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, "Is it because I threatened you?" "That's right." Guofeng slammed the table hard, stood up and said angrily, "Look at you. You are just a small fry. How dare you threaten me, a king? Aren't you courting death? How can I endure this?" Sorry, I was wrong." Qin Feiyang also stood up shakily, reached out and hooked his arm around Guofeng's neck, and apologized repeatedly. "Sai, I didn't really blame you. Why are you apologizing? You have to remember that we are friends now, brothers. Let's forget about those unhappy things in the past. In the future, we will love and protect each other, and make a name for ourselves in the Forgotten Continent." Guofeng roared heroically. "Yes, make a name for ourselves. Come, let's not go home until we are drunk." Qin Feiyang was also full of pride. "Alright, let's not go home until we are drunk." The two of them directly picked up the wine jug, clinked it hard, and began to gulp it down. After drinking, Qin Feiyang sat down on the chair and waved his hand. "Brother, I can't take it anymore." "You can't take it anymore? Are you still a man?" "Let me tell you, the two of us have to be carried back today. Waiter, give me 2 more jugs of dragon's wine." Guofeng walked to the door, opened it, and shouted outside. "All right, coming right up." The waiter below shouted. "Next." Guofeng staggered back to the table, patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder, and said, "Brother, hurry up and pull yourself together, we still have to continue. I really can't take it anymore." Qin Feiyang collapsed on the chair, waving his hands, his entire body reeking of alcohol. "A man can't say no, a woman can't say no, understand? Hurry up and wash up, wake up, we'll continue drinking later." Guofeng forcefully pulled Qin Feiyang up, and then pushed Qin Feiyang towards the bedroom. Because in the bedroom, there was a separate washroom. Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "I really have to hand it to you, your alcohol tolerance is so good. All right, I'll go wash up, you have to wait for me, you're not allowed to drink secretly." "Who do you think I am? You're still drinking secretly, hurry up and stop talking nonsense." Guofeng waved his hand impatiently. "I treat you as a brother, haha." With a loud laugh, Qin Feiyang staggered towards the bedroom. The washroom was on the left side of the bedroom, but he walked towards the right. "Brother, the washroom is on the left, you can't even find the direction, can you do it?" Seeing this, Guofeng hurriedly said. "Left?" Qin Feiyang was stunned, looked at the wall on the left, turned his head to look at the right, and suddenly said, "Yes, yes, yes, right, right, no, no, it's left, left, let me tell you, don't look down on me, even if there are 10 more jars, I can drink it." Qin Feiyang turned around, pointed at Guofeng, shook his head and said, and then walked towards the washroom. "All right, you're good." Guofeng nodded and smiled helplessly. Clang! Qin Feiyang finally entered the washroom and closed the door with force. Walala, then. A burst of water came out from the washroom. "Young Master Guo, this is the wine you want." The waiter walked into the private room with 2 jugs of wine. "Put on the table." Guofeng pointed at the table, completely drunk. Unexpectedly drunk like this. After the waiter put down the jug, he looked at the drunk Guofeng, shook his head, turned around and walked out, and closed the door. Just as the door closed, Guofeng's drunkenness disappeared in an instant, and his eyes flashed with a shocking cold light. He walked to the bedroom, looked at the washroom door, and quickly returned to the table, taking out a jade bottle from his arms. The jade bottle was only the size of a thumb, and it was half filled with a small bottle of transparent liquid. This was the venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion. "Don't blame me for being cruel, you asked for it." Guofeng smiled coldly, pulled out the cork, and poured only 1 drop into Qin Feiyang's wine cup. The venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion was the complete opposite of the venom of the bloodthirsty spider. It was colorless and tasteless, and even if it was not mixed with wine, it was difficult to detect. Just this 1 drop was enough to take Qin Feiyang's life. Then, Guofeng put away the jade bottle, returned to the chair, and pretended to be drunk. At the same time, in the washroom, Qin Feiyang's previous drunkenness had also disappeared. At this moment, he held the image crystal in his hand. Soon, young Master Hao's shadow showed up. But Qin Feiyang did not say anything, and only nodded to young Master Hao. Young Master Hao also nodded in response, and the shadow dissipated. Then, Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal and stood in front of the sink, his eyes flashing with cold light. Although he did not see Guofeng poisoning with his own eyes, he could imagine that Guofeng asked him to come to the washroom to wash up to create an opportunity to poison. "It's not that easy to kill me." Qin Feiyang sneered, held the water, washed his face, and returned to the table in a drunken state. Guofeng glanced at Qin Feiyang and laughed. Look at you now, if others see you, they will definitely laugh at you. Aren't you the same? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Yes, yes, yes. Come, let's continue. Guofeng picked up the wine pot and filled the wine cup in front of Qin Feiyang. Humph, come on, I'm not afraid of you. Qin Feiyang raised his wine cup and snorted. But in his heart, he was thinking, did Guofeng put the bloodthirsty scorpion's venom in the wine cup or the wine pot? Soon. He had the answer in his heart. Guofeng also poured a cup for himself, and after pouring it, he drank it without hesitation. Obviously. If Guofeng really did poison, it must be in the wine cup in his hand. What are you waiting for? Drink it. Don't tell me you can't drink it. If you really can't drink it, don't force yourself, I won't laugh at you. Seeing Qin Feiyang holding the wine cup but not drinking, Guofeng could not help but make fun of him, but he was actually very nervous. He had done so much for this moment. If Qin Feiyang did not drink at this time, then all his previous efforts would be wasted. But he did not dare to show too much urgency. Can't drink it? How dare you look down on me? Let me tell you, although I don't usually drink, I can still drink. Today, I must make you drunk. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly, holding the wine cup and putting it to his mouth. At this moment, Guofeng's eyes were firmly fixed on Qin Feiyang, and his hands could not help but clench. As long as Qin Feiyang drank this cup of wine, then the humiliation he had suffered before could be doubled back. However, when Qin Feiyang was about to drink, at this moment, there was a knock on the door. Is he here? Qin Feiyang muttered secretly, but pretended to be puzzled, put down the wine cup, and looked at the door suspiciously. Damn it! Just one more step. Which bastard came to ruin my good thing at this time? Guofeng was about to go crazy, and he was even about to vomit blood, but he had to endure. He also looked at the door, and with a sullen tone, he shouted, "Who is it? Can you not ruin our good mood?" The door opened. A white-clothed young man with his hands behind his back entered uninvited with a faint smile on his face. Young Master Hao. Guofeng's gaze trembled. Why would young Master Hao come? At the same time, Qin Feiyang secretly sent a sound transmission and laughed. Luckily you came in time, otherwise, would have had to drink this cup of wine. Young Master Hao glanced at the wine cup in front of Qin Feiyang, then looked at Guofeng and Qin Feiyang, and laughed. Just now, when I entered the Dragon Phoenix house, I heard from the waiter that the two of you were drinking here, and that you were already drunk, so I came to take a look out of curiosity. You won't blame me, right? No, no. It's our honor for young Master Hao to come, isn't it, Brother Gua? Qin Feiyang immediately stood up and laughed. Yes, yes, yes. Guofeng nodded his head, but in his heart, he was cursing the waiter's 18 generations of ancestors. Why was he so talkative? Actually, the waiter was also very wronged. Because this matter had nothing to do with the waiter at all, and he also did not tell young Master Hao that Guofeng and Qin Feiyang were drinking here. And young Master Hao said so just to find an excuse to not arouse Guofeng's suspicion. Young Master Hao laughed, looking at the smell of alcohol all over your body, you really drank a lot. How about it, won't you invite me to drink a few cups? Guofeng was about to say that it was not convenient, but Qin Feiyang beat him to it. Of course, quickly, please sit. Like this, Guofeng could not say anything more. Young Master Hao closed the door behind him, walked to the table, and sat between Qin Feiyang and Guofeng. Then, young Master Hao looked at Guofeng and said with a frown, "Why aren't you moving, do you not welcome me?" Guofeng shuddered and quickly took a clean wine cup, placed it in front of young Master Hao, and filled it to the brim. At this moment, he was very flustered. Ever since Qin Feiyang gave the opportunity to meet Dragon Phoenix House's young miss to young Master Hao last time, young Master Hao had a good impression of this ancestor Mu. If now, he poisoned Qin Feiyang to death in front of young Master Hao, it would definitely arouse young Master Hao's dissatisfaction. Young Master Hao might even report this matter to Chief Pagoda Master. At that time, he would be charged with the crime of poisoning a fellow disciple. And once Chief Pagoda Master investigated, he might not even be able to save his life. But the poison had already been used, and it was too late to take it back. What should he do? Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and he looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Younger brother Mu, you see, this place has been messed up by us. It's really a bit inappropriate to use it to entertain young Master Hao. How about we change rooms?" As long as they changed rooms immediately, Qin Feiyang would not drink this cup of wine. Although this also meant that his plan to poison Qin Feiyang to death had failed, there was still plenty of time in the future. Qin Feiyang looked at young Master Hao and asked for young Master Hao's opinion. Young Master Hao waved his hand and said with a smile, "It doesn't matter. I'm not particular about it. Just do as you like." This, Guo Feng's face stiffened. Qin Feiyang picked up the wine cup and said with a smile, then as young Master Hao said, "Come, let's drink this cup." "Okay." Young Master Hao nodded and clinked the wine cup with Qin Feiyang's. "Wait." Guo Feng hurriedly stretched out his hand. "What's wrong?" Both of them looked at him in confusion. Guo Feng's eyes kept rolling. Now he was in a bit of a dilemma. Suddenly, he grabbed a new wine cup, handed it to Qin Feiyang, and said with a smile, "Younger brother Mu, your wine cup looks a bit dirty. Use this clean one." "Dirty?" Qin Feiyang glanced at the wine cup suspiciously, then looked up at Guo Feng and said, "It's okay, brother Guo, what's wrong with you? Why have you become strange since young Master Hao came in?" Of course, he knew what Guo Feng was hesitating about. He said that on purpose, in order to see Guo Feng make a fool of himself. Needless to say, seeing Guo Feng like this, he was quite happy in his heart. "Is there?" Guo Feng laughed embarrassedly. Bang! Young Master Hao slammed the wine cup on the table. The wine cup didn't break, but some wine spilled out. But whether young Master Hao did it on purpose or not, he just happened to touch the chopsticks next to him, and the chopsticks immediately flew out and fell to the ground. Then, young Master Hao glared at Guo Feng and said, "What do you mean? If you don't welcome me, just say it." "No, no." Guo Feng hurriedly waved his hand. "Really?" Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows. "Really?" Guo Feng shook his head. Young Master Hao snorted coldly, "I don't think you have the guts. Go and pick up the chopsticks." Okay. Guo Feng nodded and quickly turned around and ran over. Just as Guo Feng turned around, Qin Feiyang and young Master Hao quickly exchanged wine cups. In other words, now the poisoned wine cup was in young Master Hao's hands. Chapter 941. At the same time, Guo Feng, who went to pick up the chopsticks, had a trace of madness in his eyes. Because he knew that there was no way out now. He couldn't care so much. Get rid of Qin Feiyang first. If he really caused young Master Hao's dissatisfaction, he would slowly find a way to persuade him. After all, Qin Feiyang would be a dead man by then. Maybe young Master Hao would be merciful and let him go. Thinking of this, he bent down to pick up the chopsticks, returned to the table, and handed the chopsticks to young Master Hao. Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Are you sleepwalking? It's dirty on the ground. How can I use it?" Yes. Guo Feng suddenly patted his head, quickly took a pair of clean chopsticks, and respectfully handed it up. Young Master Hao nodded in satisfaction, then raised his glass and said with a smile, "Come on, let me toast you too." After that, without the slightest hesitation, he drank the cup of poisoned wine. Qin Feiyang shot a glance at Guofeng. Then, he also raised his wine cup and drained it in one gulp. Guofeng also drank. At the same time, he also smiled. He knew the poison of the bloodthirsty scorpion better than anyone else. Now, even if a god descended to the mortal world, Qin Feiyang would not be able to escape death. He put down the glass and let out a long breath. Although there were some twists and turns in the process, his goal had been achieved. Then Guofeng leaned on the chair and looked at Qin Feiyang coldly, waiting for Qin Feiyang to die of the poison. However, Qin Feiyang also laughed. He slowly put down the glass and took out the jade bottle containing the blood soul spider's poison. Guofeng's pupils shrank, staring at the jade bottle. It was also at this time. Young Master Hao suddenly screamed in pain. "What's going on?" Guofeng immediately looked at young Master Hao, his eyes full of surprise. Young Master Hao was holding his chest at this moment, his face quickly turned pale, and his lips turned purple. This was obviously a sign of poisoning. But wasn't the poisonous wine drunk by Qin Feiyang? How could young Master Hao be poisoned? Whoosh! Guofeng suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang, only to see Qin Feiyang sitting there without any signs of being poisoned. How could this be? He was dumbfounded. Those who drank the poisoned wine were completely fine. Those who didn't drink the poisoned wine were poisoned instead. He couldn't figure out what was going on. "I can only tell you that you're finished." Qin Feiyang grinned and quickly pulled out the cork. He stood up and poured out a drop of blood soul spider's venom for young Master Hao. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Guofeng was slightly taken aback. Then, when he saw Qin Feiyang feed young Master Hao the poison in the jade bottle, a name suddenly appeared in his mind. Could that be? His face was instantly filled with disbelief. Qin Feiyang slowly put away the jade bottle and said with a smile, "Yes, this is the venom of the blood soul spider." "This is impossible," Guofeng shook his head. Only he and Guoyun knew the plan to poison Qin Feiyang. Guoyun would never leak the secret. How did Qin Feiyang know? And he prepared the venom of the blood soul spider in advance. Was it a coincidence? After taking the venom of the blood soul spider, young Master Hao looked even more uncomfortable. The two poisons collided crazily in his body, making him feel worse than death. His face had been distorted. But in less than 10 breaths, the pain on his face slowly dissipated. And his pale face and purple lips were also gradually returning to normal. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although he was fully confident that the venom of the blood soul spider could detoxify the poison of the bloodthirsty scorpion, he still couldn't help but feel nervous. Because he was afraid that something would happen. After all, young Master Hao's identity was too terrifying. If anything happened, even if he had 10 lives, it wouldn't be enough to kill him. Then, Qin Feiyang returned to his seat and looked at Guofeng jokingly. "You don't think this is a coincidence, do you?" Guofeng's face darkened. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "I admit that your performance today was very good. There was no flaw at all, but you found the wrong target." Guofeng growled, "Since there was no flaw, how did you know?" "Because when you and Guoyun were plotting by the lake, I was hiding nearby, so I heard every word you said to Guoyun." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "What?" Guofeng's eyes trembled. It turned out that this person had known early on. Then it was obvious that all the previous actions of this person were purely acting. "You think you are very smart. You think that everything is under your control. But in fact, from the beginning, your ending has been doomed." Qin Feiyang shook his head and said. Guofeng said in a deep voice, "What about young Master Hao? Did you find him on purpose as well?" "That's right. 3 days ago, I told young Master Hao everything." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Why? You already know my plan. It can be said that it's easy to deal with me. But why do you still want to involve young Master Hao?" Guofeng roared. "It's very simple. The people I want to deal with are not just you, but also the rest of your scorpion tribe, including Guiyun," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Hearing these words, Guofeng couldn't help but tremble. It turned out that this was the real purpose of this person. If young Master Hao was not involved, then even if the matter was exposed, the only one who would be punished in the end would be him, and Guiyun and the others would not be implicated. But now, young Master Hao was poisoned, which was equivalent to him being charged with murdering the son of the chief pagoda master. This was not a small matter. Because young Master Hao was the only son of the chief pagoda master, even the chief pagoda master himself was reluctant to scold him. One could imagine what kind of consequences he would face once the chief pagoda master knew that he murdered young Master Hao. "I'm afraid that no one in his scorpion tribe would survive. You are really vicious." Guofeng stared at Qin Feiyang with resentment. "Vicious?" Qin Feiyang was stunned, shook his head and said with a smile, "It seems that compared to you, I am still far behind." Guofeng's face was as calm as water, his hands clenched tightly, making a cracking sound. If looks could kill, then Qin Feiyang would have already been dismembered into 10,000 pieces. Suddenly, Guofeng looked at young Master Hao and said, "I don't understand, why are you helping him?" The poison in young Master Hao's body had been completely neutralized. Facing Guofeng's question, he only smiled faintly and did not give any explanation. "Answer me, why is that? What benefits did he give you?" Guofeng roared in exasperation. Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows and said, "This is my business, you can't interfere." "Yes. You are the son of the chief pagoda master, high and mighty, and I am just a remnant of the scorpion tribe, of course I can't interfere with your business. But don't push me too far." Guofeng roared. "You asked for it. If you had been more honest and not schemed against Brother Mu, would this have happened?" Young Master Hao said indifferently. "Honest? Are you joking? Although my scorpion tribe has been destroyed, I am still the king of the third peak. And him? He is just a piece of trash from the 9 great regions, what right does he have to threaten me? So, I have to make him pay the price." Guofeng pointed at Qin Feiyang angrily, his eyes flashing with shocking killing intent. "Trash?" Young Master Hao shook his head and laughed. Guofeng was indeed the king of the third peak, but Qin Feiyang could refine the Juku yellow dragon pill. It was obvious who was more valuable between the two. So in young Master Hao's opinion, Guofeng was simply talking about himself when he said the word trash. At the same time, Qin Feiyang looked at Guofeng contemptuously, turned to look at young Master Hao and said with a smile, "Brother Hao, don't talk nonsense with him, send a message to your father and let him settle this matter." "Okay." Young Master Hao nodded and immediately took out the image crystal. "No." Guofeng's eyes trembled, and he quickly knelt in front of young Master Hao and begged, "Young Master, I know I was wrong, please forgive me this time, I swear, I will be honest in the future." But young Master Hao turned a deaf ear to him, and his battle chi surged toward the image crystal. Seeing this, Guofeng's eyes suddenly flashed with a ruthless light. "If you don't let me live well, I won't let you live well either, go to hell." Boom! He suddenly stood up and threw a punch at young Master Hao. "You're courting death." Young Master Hao's eyes were also full of killing intent. Boom! At the same time, a terrifying holy aura burst out in the room, instantly imprisoning Guofeng. This, Guofeng looked at Qin Feiyang in shock and anger. Because the owner of this saint aura was Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "You didn't expect it, right? I have already broken through to the battle saint realm." So fast, Guofeng was extremely shocked and also despaired. Although he was a 9-star war master and was only a small realm away from Qin Feiyang, he had not opened the gate of potential and was simply unable to break through the shackles of Qin Feiyang's pressure. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's saint aura also alarmed everyone in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Bang! Almost in the next moment, the door was forcefully pushed open. A slightly plump middle-aged man barged into the room. It was the steward of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, Pang Su. But when he saw that it was Qin Feiyang, young Master Hao, and Guofeng in the room, his expression froze. "Greetings, young Master Hao." "Greetings, young Master Mu." Coming back to his senses, Pang Su hurriedly bowed and saluted. Then he looked at Guofeng, who was imprisoned in the air, and asked suspiciously, "Young masters, what's going on?" Wang. It was also at this moment that the image crystal in young Master Hao's hand shone brightly. An illusory figure appeared. It was a middle-aged man, about 30 or 40 years old. His body was thin, and he had a head of long snow-white hair. He was also wearing a white robe that was spotless. At this moment, he was sitting in a pavilion in a courtyard, drinking tea alone. Each of his actions was emitting a scholarly aura. That's right. This was young Master Hao's father, the Pill Tower's chief pagoda master who controlled the Forgotten Continent. Seeing the chief pagoda master's shadow appear, Guofeng's face immediately turned as pale as paper. Pang Su's gaze also trembled slightly as he hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, Chief Pagoda Master." An uneasy premonition arose in his heart. Chapter 942. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also lowered his head and bowed to the Chief Pagoda Master's shadow. So many people? Looking at Qin Feiyang and the others, the Chief Pagoda Master was also quite surprised. No need to be so polite. Then, the Chief Pagoda Master smiled at everyone, appearing amiable. Next, he looked at young Master Hao and asked, "Hao, is there something you need from your father? Aren't you talking nonsense? Why would I look for you if there's nothing?" Young Master Hao rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang's expression suddenly became strange. Was this how young Master Hao usually spoke to the Chief Pagoda Master? The Chief Pagoda Master was also a little embarrassed, and said, "What is it? Speak." Young Master Hao said, "Guofeng poisoned me before, and he used the venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion." Crack! The teacup in the Chief Pagoda Master's hand instantly shattered. Poisoned young Master Hao? Pang Su was also shocked. Such a big thing actually happened? What's going on? After a moment of silence, the Chief Pagoda Master asked. Young Master Hao waved his hand impatiently and said, "It's a long story, come here and I'll tell you slowly." The Chief Pagoda Master's shadow immediately dissipated. Boom! In less than 3 breaths, a terrifying aura descended above the Dragon Phoenix house. It was a purple-clothed youth, with a jade-like appearance, a tall and straight figure, and an unfathomable aura. Shwa! Next, with another flash, he entered the hall of the Dragon Phoenix house. In an instant, the Dragon Phoenix house fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at the purple-clothed youth with fear in their eyes. The purple-clothed youth glanced at the hall and said in a deep voice, "Little junior brother, where are you?" "Here." Young Master Hao replied. "Little junior brother?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. Whoosh! When the purple-clothed youth heard young Master Hao's voice, he jumped up and landed directly at the door. "So it's him." Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw that the person who came was Gongsun Bei. But Gongsun Bei actually called young Master Hao junior brother. Could it be that he was also a disciple of the chief pagoda master? Greetings, Lord Gongsun Bei. Pang Su hurriedly went up. However, Gongsun Bei ignored him and entered the room. He closed the door and walked to young Master Hao's side. Young Master Hao looked at Gongsun Bei and frowned. "Where's my father?" Gongsun Bei said, "Sir is drinking tea. However, there is no need for Sir to come personally for such a small matter. I almost died, and you call that a small matter? It seems that my son is not as important as a cup of tea in his eyes." Young Master Hao snorted coldly. Gongsun Bei beamed a bitter smile. He glanced at Guofeng and frowned. "What happened?" Young Master Hao said coldly, "I just wanted to drink a cup of wine, but I didn't expect Guofeng to put poison in the wine cup." Gongsun Bei's eyes turned cold as he shouted, "Who gave you the guts to plot against young Master Hao?" Guofeng's body trembled. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and he hurriedly waved his hand and said, "No, no, no. Sir, it wasn't me who poisoned them." Gongsun Bei was stunned. Young Master Hao and Qin Feiyang also frowned. But soon, Qin Feiyang thought of what Guofeng wanted to do and said, "He is trying to quibble now." Quibble? Young Master Hao was suspicious. "If I'm not wrong, he will definitely frame me or drag me down with him. After all, there was no one else present at that time. He can say whatever he wants." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Young Master Hao asked secretly, "Then what should we do?" "I have a way." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, with a hint of ridicule in his eyes. At this time, Gongsun Bei looked at Guofeng and frowned. "If it wasn't you, then who was it?" Guofeng pointed at Qin Feiyang and said, "At that time, other than me, there was only him, so he must have poisoned young Master Hao when we weren't paying attention." As expected. Qin Feiyang muttered, but he was not in a hurry to explain. Gongsun Bei turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He frowned and said, "Do you have anything to say?" This, Qin Feiyang was doubtful and did not say anything. "It can't really be him, right?" Pang Su looked at Qin Feiyang and muttered. Gongsun Bei said impatiently, "Don't dawdle, tell me. Whoever poisoned him must have the venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion on him. Even if there is no venom, there must be a container to hold it. You'll know when you search." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "Makes sense." Gongsun Bei nodded and turned to walk towards Guofeng. Seeing this, Guofeng's expression suddenly became panicked. At that time, he did not expect that young Master Hao would come, nor did he expect this to happen. So after poisoning him, he did not dispose of the excess venom. And now, the excess venom was in his arms. Gongsun Bei walked over and first searched Guofeng's Qinkuan bag. Obviously, there was nothing. Then, he grabbed Gongsun Bei's clothes and tore them off. Clank! A crisp sound suddenly rang out. Gongsun Bei lowered his head and saw a thumb-sized jade bottle fall to the ground. Qin Feiyang glanced at the jade bottle, crossed his arms and looked at Guofeng. He smiled faintly and said, "I don't know how you're going to quibble now." Guofeng's face was pale. Gongsun Bei picked up the jade bottle and pulled out the cork. After carefully observing for a moment, killing intent surged in his eyes. "This is indeed the venom of the bloodthirsty scorpion. How do you explain now?" He looked at Guofeng coldly. Guofeng stammered, terrified to the extreme. Gongsun Bei shouted, "Tell me, why did you murder young Master Hao? Is there anyone else involved?" "Yes." Guofeng's eyes flashed and he nodded fiercely. "Who?" Gongsun Bei asked. "It's him, Ancestor Mu. It's him who bewitched me to poison young Master Hao. Lord, I'm at most an accomplice. Please show mercy. Guofeng begged. Still quibbling. Gongsun Bei shook his head and sighed. When you said that it was Ancestor Mu who poisoned you, I didn't believe it at all. Do you know why? Why? Guofeng looked at him suspiciously. Beside him, Pang Su also looked at Gongsun Bei in confusion. Because Ancestor Mu is about to become the Chief Pagoda Master's personal disciple. So, as long as he's not a fool, he would know that even if he really wanted to murder young Master Hao, he wouldn't do it now. Gongsun Bei said. What? Become the Chief Pagoda Master's personal disciple? What's going on? Why isn't there any news at all? Guofeng and Pang Su were both shocked. Gongsun Bei said, I'll give you one last chance. Why did you murder young Master Hao? You're really long-winded. Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows imperceptibly and transmitted, Brother Mu, you have to silence him immediately. Why? Qin Feiyang asked secretly. Although Guofeng did murder you first, if Guofeng tells the truth, I'll definitely be scolded by my father. And your plan will also fail. Young Master Hao said. His words woke Gongsun Bei up. Qin Feiyang had almost forgotten this point. As young Master Hao said, if Guofeng told the truth, Gongsun Bei would only kill Guofeng at most. He made a prompt decision. He took a step forward and slapped Guofeng's head before Gongsun Bei could react. Ah! Crack! With a scream, Guofeng's head exploded and he fell to the ground, dead. Gongsun Bei was stunned. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said angrily, What are you doing? I haven't asked clearly yet. What if there's someone behind him? If you kill him now, won't the clues be lost? Qin Feiyang coughed and pointed at young Master Hao. Young Master secretly asked me to kill him. He thinks you're too long-winded. Gongsun Bei was stunned. Young Master Hao also glared at Qin Feiyang angrily. How could he just throw this mess to him? How despicable. But there was nothing he could do now. He could only brace himself and accept this mess. He looked at Gongsun Bei and snorted coldly, Yes, I asked him to kill Guofeng. The evidence is conclusive, and you're still asking questions. I've never seen such a dawdling person like you. Gongsun Bei smiled bitterly, This is not dawdling, this is taking responsibility. But what was done was done. What else could he do? He could only forget about it. Alright, this matter is over. You should go back early. Don't fool around outside all day. Gongsun Bei said helplessly and took out a teleportation gate. Over? Young Master Hao frowned. Gongsun Bei was stunned and asked, Isn't Guofeng already dead? Young Master Hao said, Guofeng is dead, but the other people of the Scorpion tribe are still alive. I want you to eliminate them all. Eliminate them all. Gongsun Bei looked at him in surprise. Yes. For those who want to poison me, I will make them pay a heavy price. Young Master Hao said, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Gongsun Bei fell silent. I agree with young Master's approach, because by doing so, we can make an example out of them. Qin Feiyang said. Gongsun Bei looked at Qin Feiyang, then at young Master Hao, and nodded, All right, I'll make the arrangements now. Finished. He opened the teleportation gate and turned to leave. After the teleportation gate dissipated, Qin Feiyang and young Master Hao looked at each other with a hint of a smile in their eyes. Young Master Hao sent a sound transmission, Brother Mu, I've already helped you get rid of them. Isn't it time for you to fulfill your promise? Qin Feiyang was about to speak. But at this moment, Pang Su suddenly looked at young Master Hao and bowed, Young Master, I'm really sorry. Young Master Hao was startled and asked in confusion, It's not like it's your Dragon Phoenix restaurant's poison, why are you apologizing to me? Although it's not my Dragon Phoenix restaurant's poison, it still happened in my Dragon Phoenix restaurant. So I thought that I would give the two young masters 2 jars of Dragon Phoenix wine for free as an apology. At the same time, it can also be considered as an advance congratulations to young Master Mu for becoming the direct disciple of the Chief Pagoda Master. Pang Su said. Dragon Phoenix wine. Still 2 jars. Young Master Hao's eyes lit up, and he laughed. Then I won't be polite. As long as the 2 young masters don't mind. After Pang Su finished speaking with a smile, he hurriedly turned around and left. Steward Pang, what happened? Just now, we vaguely heard that Guofeng poisoned young Master Hao. Is this true? The moment Pang Su went out, the people gathered in the restaurant started to ask questions. But Pang Su did not say anything and walked straight to the wine cellar. Now, appeasing young Master Hao was the most important thing. Inside the pavilion, Qin Feiyang walked into the tea room and slowly brewed tea. Seeing this, young Master Hao frowned and also followed into the tea room, saying impatiently, Brother Mu, hurry up and help me break through to the War Saint realm. What's the rush? Come to the alchemy room tomorrow to find me. I promise to help you break through in one go. Qin Feiyang laughed. Actually, the real reason was because he had yet to refine the 9-turn dragon blood pill. And now, it was impossible for him to go to the castle to refine it. Well, anyway, I've waited for so long, one more day won't make a difference. Young Master Hao thought for a while and nodded with a smile. Then, he sat opposite Qin Feiyang and looked at the beauty of Qinghai on the tea table. This tea set, suddenly. There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. This tea set is called Beauty of Qinghai. It was made of Qinghai nephrite and was also given to me by Guofeng. Qin Feiyang laughed. Tisk, tsk, tsk. In order to make you lower your guard, he even took out this treasure. He really knows how to spend a lot of money. Young Master Hao was speechless. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, to tell you the truth, I really like people like him. You're taking advantage of me, you know. Young Master Hao rolled his eyes at him. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and asked curiously, tell me, how did you and Guofeng become enemies? It's interesting to talk about it. I remember that day, Pei Yi invited me to the Dragon Phoenix restaurant for a drink, and Guofeng happened to find me. Qin Feiyang made tea while satisfying young Master Hao's curiosity and slowly told the story. Chapter 943. Swoosh. Above the pill tower, one figure after another appeared unceasingly. They wore all kinds of clothes, men and women, basically all middle-aged appearances. Looking at their waists again, they all had a reddish gold token hanging. That's right. They were the divine envoys of the main tower. There were 10 people in the main pavilion, each one emitting an unfathomable aura. Mu Qing's grandfather, Lu Changfeng, was also among them. Lu Changfeng shouted, people of the Scorpion tribe, come out immediately. What's the situation? The disciples of the 10 pill towers were all alarmed in an instant. So many divine envoys? In the 3rd pagoda, a person appeared first. It was precisely the king of the 3rd pagoda, Guiyun. But when he saw that there were actually 10 divine envoys, his pupils suddenly constricted. After Guiyun, the rest of the Scorpion tribe's people also appeared continuously, gathering around Guiyun. Looking at Lu Changfeng's 10 people, everyone's faces had unresolvable bewilderment. In less than 100 breaths, over 1,000 people gathered here. Guiyun bowed and said, Lord Divine Envoy, may I ask why you called us out? Boom. However, what answered him was one terrifying emperor pressure after another. The 1,000 people of the Scorpion tribe were all imprisoned in the void in an instant. Guiyun's expression changed and he hurriedly looked at Lu Changfeng's 10 people and said, Lords, Why is this? Guofeng poisoned young Master Hao in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, committing a heinous crime. And as his clansmen, you all can hardly absolve yourselves from the blame too. Lu Changfeng opened his mouth coldly. What? Poisoned young Master Hao? Everyone's expressions changed when they heard it. Guoyun's face was also full of disbelief. Didn't Guofeng go to poison Ancestor Mu? Why would he poison young Master Hao? Guoyun said anxiously, Your Excellency, there must be a misunderstanding here. Lords, please investigate clearly. Misunderstanding? Young Master Hao almost lost his life under the bloodthirsty scorpion's poison, and there was even Ancestor Mu testifying by the side. Is this called a misunderstanding? Lu Changfeng shouted. Ancestor Mu testifying? Guoyun was completely stunned. What on earth was going on? But no one gave him an explanation. Lu Changfeng raised his arm, battle chi surged on his index fingertip. A destructive aura rolled out crazily. Even if Guofeng has guts as big as the heavens, he wouldn't dare to murder young Master Hao. My lord, please investigate this thoroughly. Don't kill the innocent. The people of the Scorpion tribe immediately panicked. It was obvious that these divine envoys had come to kill them. Boom! However, Lu Changfeng turned a deaf ear to him. Battle chi surged out of his fingertip and pounced toward the thousands of people. No, I beg you, the group of people cried out in despair, but it was of no use. The battle chi instantly drowned them. Ah! Along with cries of agony, everyone died on the spot and their blood dyed the sky red. Including Guoyun. When the disciples of the Pill Tower who came out later saw this scene, their faces were filled with shock. Second grandfather. What's going on? Did Guofeng really poison young Master Hao? Mu Qing also came out. She looked at the blood-soaked sky and secretly sent a message to Lu Changfeng. I don't know the details either. But I heard that it has something to do with Qin Feiyang. My guess is that this is Qin Feiyang's scheme. Lu Changfeng thought to himself. Mu Qing was stunned. This bastard actually caused such a big commotion as soon as he came back. I still have to go to the major cities to clean up the remnants of the Scorpion tribe. When you have time, go and ask Qin Feiyang. By the way, tell him not to make any decisions on his own in the future. It's best to discuss it with us first. Lu Changfeng said secretly and opened the teleportation gate. He walked in with the other 9 divine envoys one after another. Mu Qing's eyes flashed. Then, she turned around and entered the first pagoda without looking back. Warrior Mountain Range. There were more people of the Scorpion tribe here than in the Pill Tower. At this moment, the same scene was happening. Blood was raining down from the sky and corpses kept falling. More than a dozen divine envoys were like cold-blooded gods of death, harvesting everyone's lives. The disciples of the entire main pagoda were shocked. They were also laughing at Guofeng's stupidity. He actually dared to poison young Master Hao. Wasn't he courting death? And in less than half a day. This matter spread throughout the entire central Divine Kingdom cities and tribes. Everyone found it unbelievable. Was this Guofeng a fool? Didn't he know that young Master Hao was the only son of the main pagoda master? Poisoning him? They were simply digging their own graves. At the same time. Dragon Phoenix House. So that's how it is. After listening to Qin Feiyang's story, young Master Hao couldn't help but laugh out loud. He's really unlucky to have met a fiend like you. Fiend? Qin Feiyang's face twitched. He said helplessly, Can you blame me for this? He can only blame himself for wanting to have a foot in both boats. That's true. Young Master Hao nodded. He definitely couldn't tolerate this kind of person who had a honey mouth and a sword in his heart. Otherwise, Who knew how many women would be ruined by his hands in the future? Buzz. At this time, the image crystal in young Master Hao's arms rang. Young Master Hao took it out and Gong Sunbei's shadow immediately appeared. Gong Sunbei smiled and said, "Junior brother, as you wish, the people of the Scorpion tribe have all been eradicated." So fast? Qin Feiyang and young Master Hao looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. Then, young Master Hao looked at Gong Sunbei and asked, "What about those outside? They're still being pursued. After all, the news has already spread. The remaining survivors will definitely hide. It will take a lot of time to find them." Gong Sunbei said. "All right, do as you see fit." Young Master Hao nodded and smiled. He then turned off the image crystal and smiled at Qin Feiyang. "How is it? The efficiency of my head pagoda is not bad, right?" Qin Feiyang gave a thumbs up. From this moment on, the Scorpion tribe could be considered to have truly perished. "Right. Why did Gong Sunbei call you junior brother?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Young Master Hao pursed his lips and said, "He's my father's disciple, but he has already finished his apprenticeship." "Sure enough." Qin Feiyang muttered and asked again, "Do you know where the Mu family is?" Young Master Hao frowned and said, "Why are you asking about the Mu family?" "Some time ago, I accidentally heard someone mention that this Mu family is very mysterious, so I'm a little curious." Qin Feiyang calmly said with a smile. Young Master Hao nodded and then his face became serious. He whispered, "Junior brother Mu, listen to me. Don't ask about the Mu family in the future." "Why?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. Young Master Hao said in a deep voice, "This Mu family is not only mysterious, but also very terrifying." "Terrifying?" Qin Feiyang was more and more surprised. "Let me tell you this. Since I was a child, my father has told me that I can be prodigal and bully others, but I must never offend the Mu family." Young Master Hao said. This, Qin Feiyang was surprised. "As for where the Mu family is, I don't know. I've asked my father before, but he didn't tell me because he was afraid that I would act recklessly." Young Master Hao said again. Qin Feiyang's eyes showed a trace of disappointment, but he quickly concealed it. Young Master Hao got up and smiled, "Let's not talk about the Mu family. Let's go and drink some Dragon Phoenix wine to celebrate." "Yes, we need to celebrate." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. At about noon, Qin Feiyang got up and left, returning to the alchemy room number 10. As for young Master Hao, he still stayed in the Dragon Phoenix house. The purpose of staying in the Dragon Phoenix house was naturally for the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house. Dong. Not long after Qin Feiyang returned to the alchemy room, there was a knock on the door. He waved his hand, and the stone door slowly opened. Mu Qing came in with a smile on his face. "What are you doing here?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Mu Qing walked into the lounge, sat on the chair, and said, "Guiyun poisoned young Master Hao, was it your plan?" "I don't have that ability." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Don't play dumb. Who is young Master Hao? Unless Guo Feng's head was kicked by a donkey, he wouldn't poison him." Mu Qing pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang smiled, "Maybe his head was really kicked by a donkey?" Mu Qing rolled his eyes, and said, "Don't talk nonsense, let's talk business. Since young Master Hao is willing to help you get rid of the remnants of the Scorpion tribe, does that mean his relationship with you is very good?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "Not very good, because I promised to help him step into the Battle Saint realm." "Help him step into the Battle Saint realm?" Mu Qing was stunned, and asked, "Can you do it?" "Whether I can or not, you don't need to know. Now tell me, other than your second grandpa, is there anyone else in the Holy Land?" Qin Feiyang said. What? Mu Qing immediately stared at him vigilantly. Qin Feiyang said, now that we are in a cooperative relationship, of course I need to know who is on the same side. What if I kill them by mistake when there is a conflict? Don't worry. They all know you, so they won't deliberately target you. On the contrary, at the critical moment, they will secretly assist you. Mu Qing laughed. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he sneered, so, you really arranged for someone else to enter the Holy Land? Of course. We can't just hang on a tree like you, right? Okay, good luck in the Holy Land, I'll wait for your good news. By the way, second grandpa asked me to tell you, don't make decisions on your own in the future, and discuss with us first. Mu Qing smiled proudly, then got up and left without looking back. Discuss? Qin Feiyang couldn't help but sneer. Although this time it was because of the Mu family that he was able to escape from the imperial capital, he really didn't have a good impression of the Mu family. Especially this Mu Qing, sometimes he really wanted to kick her. After closing the stone door, Qin Feiyang went to the castle. Everyone was concentrating on cultivation. Qin Feiyang looked at Fatso and said, give me 2 sets of medicinal materials for the 9-turn dragon blood pill. Fatso opened his eyes and frowned, there is not much dragon blood left, are you sure you want to help young Master Hao? Qin Feiyang said, I must do what I promised others, not to mention that the other party is the son of the chief pagoda master. Fatso sighed. Yes. If Qin Feiyang went back on his words now, young Master Hao would definitely not let it go. At that time, as long as young Master Hao casually said a few words in front of the chief pagoda master, then Qin Feiyang's dream of becoming the chief pagoda master's disciple would probably be ruined. Suddenly, Lu Hong opened her eyes, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, right now, the blood flowing in your body is purple gold dragon blood, I was thinking, could it be used to refine the 9-turn dragon blood pill? Qin Feiyang and Fatso were startled. That's right. Why didn't they think of it? Fatso immediately took out a set of 9-turn dragon blood pills medicinal ingredients and handed it to Qin Feiyang, urging, boss, quickly try it. Although Qin Feiyang was a human, the blood in his body was indeed dragon blood. Since it was dragon blood, then it might really be able to refine the 9-turn dragon blood pill. Qin Feiyang took the medicinal ingredients, glanced at Fatso and the other 2, then turned and walked towards the pill furnace, a trace of anticipation in his eyes. If it was really possible, then the problem of dragon blood would undoubtedly be solved. Fatso and Lu Hong also got up and followed behind Qin Feiyang. Arriving in front of the pill furnace, Qin Feiyang placed the medicinal ingredients one by one on the altar, then closed his eyes and calmed his heart. Phew! A moment later, he let out a long breath, and his entire body and mind seemed to have entered a state of heart as still as water. Then he opened his eyes, waved his hand, and the netherworld devil flame turned into a stream of light, suspended below the pill furnace. Then with a thought, the netherworld devil flame slowly began to recover. When the temperature in the pill furnace reached a certain level, he cut his finger, and a drop of purple gold blood immediately flowed out. The blood was suffused with a hazy purple gold divine light, and carried a pure dragon's might. Swish! At the same time, Qin Feiyang's head, a wisp of mental strength swept out, wrapped the drop of purple gold blood, and entered the pill furnace. The temperature in the pill furnace continued to rise. Under the control of Qin Feiyang's mental strength, the purple gold blood was like a colorful gem, constantly rotating. Time passed breath by breath. Suddenly, a trace of spiritual liquid flowed out from the purple gold blood. The spiritual liquid was also purple gold, looked very dazzling, and emitted a refreshing fragrance. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang did not have any emotional fluctuations, but it was not that he did not, but that he did not dare to, because once there was an emotional fluctuation, the pill furnace might explode. However, Fatso and Lu Hong behind him could not hide the surprise on their faces. Because the appearance of the spiritual liquid already meant that Qin Feiyang's blood could be used as medicinal ingredients. Qin Feiyang had refined the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill several times, so he was not unfamiliar with it. After refining the spiritual liquid of the purple gold dragon blood, he began to refine the spiritual liquid of the other medicinal ingredients step by step. About 200 breaths passed. Whoosh! Finally, the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill was out. Qin Feiyang grabbed it in his hand, immediately opened his hand, and looked down. Fatso and Lu Hong also came closer to take a look. The size of the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pellet was about the same as the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pellets he had refined in the past. The only difference was that the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pellet was purple gold in color. Even the 6 patterns on the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pellet were emitting a bright purple gold divine light. A strong medicinal fragrance filled every corner of the ancient castle. "Boss, we're rich." Fatso's eyes lit up. The other medicinal ingredients of the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill, such as the dragon saliva fruit, although very rare, were not difficult to find. He had a lot of them now. Only the dragon blood could not be bought with money. But now that the problem of dragon blood was solved, they could refine a large number of 9 Revolutions dragon blood pills in the future. If they were to auction it, who knew what kind of sky-high price it would fetch? In other words, the purple gold dragon blood in Qin Feiyang's body was an inexhaustible treasure. Can you not show your greed so obviously? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. That's right, we don't even know if it's effective now, why are you so excited? Lu Hong also looked at him with disdain. Fatso rubbed his head and chuckled. Won't we know if it's effective after we try it? As he spoke, he reached out to grab the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill. Qin Feiyang grabbed the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill and raised his eyebrows. Can you stop? Fatso laughed dryly. Fat Lord wants to personally test it. Test? Qin Feiyang sneered. How could he not know what Fatso was thinking? Seeing that he had stepped into the Battle Saint realm, he started to feel anxious, so he wanted to use the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill to step into the Battle Saint realm in one go. But Qin Feiyang firmly disagreed with this kind of thing. It was not that he was stingy, but that it was not time yet. Fatso had opened the door of potential. Even without the help of the pill, he could easily break through to the Battle Saint realm. And after stepping into the Battle Saint realm, the time needed to break through each small realm would gradually increase. For example, it took 10 years to break through from a 1-star Battle Saint to a 2-star Battle Saint, so it would take at least 13 to 14 years to break through from a 2-star Battle Saint to a 3-star Battle Saint. In short, the further one went, the longer the time needed. So, if they took the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill now, it would be a loss. Qin Feiyang's plan was to wait until everyone broke through to the 7 or 8-star Battle Saint realm before taking the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill. Of course. Except for the double-winged snow eagle and Yen Wei, after all, they had already taken it. Being seen through by Qin Feiyang, Fatso's expression was rather awkward. He smiled flatteringly and said, "Fat Lord is just saying, don't take it seriously." Lu Hong shook her head and laughed. Then, she looked at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, "You broke through to the Battle Saint realm, the Chief Pagoda Master already knew, but why didn't he come to find you? This kind of thing can't be rushed, let's wait." Qin Feiyang kept the 9 Revolutions dragon blood pill and took out the soul refining technique jade slip. Then, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to comprehend it again. His stubborn temper rose. Chapter 944. Time flew by. Early the next morning, young Master Hao came to the first tower and stood outside Qin Feiyang's alchemy room, knocking on the door. Sigh. Inside the alchemy room. Hearing the knock on the door, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but let out a long sigh. He slowly opened his eyes with a trace of disappointment in them. After a night of meditation, he still didn't gain anything. Why is it so difficult to comprehend a rankless battle art? What kind of joke is this? He muttered and put away the soul-refining technique jade scroll. With a wave of his hand, the stone door quickly opened. Good morning. Young Master Hao waved his hand and smiled. Good morning. Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile, and said, Please come in. Young Master Hao entered the alchemy room, closed the stone door, and asked, Can we start now? He looked a little impatient. Of course. Qin Feiyang smiled. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and he asked calmly, I wonder if Brother Hao has heard of the soul-refining technique? Soul-refining technique? Young Master Hao was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, Yes, but it is said that this soul-refining technique is only a rankless battle art, and doesn't have much value. So, Elder Wang really didn't lie to me? Qin Feiyang muttered. Forget it. Don't think about it. Let's talk about it later. He took out the 9-turn dragon blood pill, walked in front of young Master Hao, and handed it over. What pill? Young Master Hao looked at the 9-turn dragon blood pill and asked suspiciously. Qin Feiyang laughed, a pill that can help you break through to the War Saint realm. Heard of it? Young Master Hao's eyes lit up, he grabbed the 9-turn dragon blood pill and stuffed it into his mouth. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang grabbed his wrist and frowned, Aren't you worried that this is a poisonous pill? Young Master Hao was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and laughed, If you wanted to harm me, you would have done it yesterday at the Dragon Phoenix house. Why wait until now? Qin Fei shook his head and smiled, at the same time letting go. Young Master Hao directly put the 9-turn dragon blood pill into his mouth. The moment the pill entered his mouth, it turned into a majestic energy, like a tide, crazily surged into his limbs and bones. What pure energy! Moreover, it also carries a strong divine dragon qi. Could it be that this elixir was refined using the flesh and blood of a divine dragon? Young Master Hao was surprised. Qin Feiyang said, Don't ask anything. Focus on breaking through. In fact, he was also quite nervous. He was afraid that the purple gold dragon blood would not work. However, his worries were completely unnecessary. Boom! In less than 10 breaths, young Master Hao's aura soared uncontrollably. Isn't this too fast? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Could it be that the effect of the 9-revolution dragon blood pill refined with the purple gold dragon blood was better than before? Rumble. All of a sudden, inside young Master Hao's body, a muffled explosion was heard. His aura was like a rainbow as he broke through the shackles of the 9-star battle master and stepped into the 1-star battle saint realm. This, Qin Feiyang was stunned. This effect was indeed better than the 9 revolutions dragon blood pill that he had refined in the past. It really worked, at the same time. Young Master Hao was also dumbstruck. He couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. He felt as if he was dreaming. He had been trapped in the 9-star battle sect for several years, but he didn't expect that he would be able to easily resolve it with just a single pill. Who? Qin Fei let out a long breath, cupped his hands and smiled, Brother Hao, congratulations. Young Master Hao finally came back to his senses. Feeling the surging power in his body, as well as the powerful holy might, he was immediately overjoyed. I still have to thank Brother Mu for this. Otherwise, I don't know how long it would take for me to get what I want. So no matter what, Brother Mu, please accept my bow. Young Master Hao bowed and said. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, We are all friends, Brother Hao, you don't have to be so polite. Friend? On the other hand, young Master Hao fell silent. There was an indescribable emotion in his heart. A moment later, he seemed to have made some sort of decision. He retracted all of his aura and laughed loudly. All right, from today onwards, you are my friend, no, my brother. In other words, it was only at this moment that young Master Hao could be considered to have truly accepted Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was also rather surprised. He didn't expect young Master Hao to say such words. He laughed half-jokingly, with a brother like you, wouldn't I be able to do whatever I want in the main tower in the future? Of course. Young Master Hao smiled proudly. Looking at the sincere young Master Hao, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel hesitant. Because from the beginning to the end, he had been using young Master Hao. He had never thought of becoming a true friend with young Master Hao. But now, young Master Hao treated him as a brother and treated him with sincerity. He really didn't know how to face it. However, young Master Hao didn't know about this, nor did he notice Qin Feiyang's abnormality. He smiled and said, "This time, I came here for another matter." "What?" Qin Feiyang asked. Young Master Hao said, "Father wants to see you." Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. "That is to say, you will soon become my father's disciple, and before that, you may get a good fortune." Young Master Hao said. "A good fortune?" Qin Feiyang was doubtful. "Let's keep you guessing first." Young Master Hao smiled mysteriously and then said, "Go and pack up. Come with me immediately." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and turned to enter the lounge. He washed up a little and changed into a new set of clothes. But just as he was about to leave the lounge, he suddenly lowered his head and fell silent. "Brother Mu, what are you doing? Can you hurry up?" "Outside." Young Master Hao urged impatiently when Qin Feiyang didn't come out for a long time. "Coming, coming." Qin Feiyang hurriedly responded. Alas! Then he sighed in a low voice, adjusted his mood, and walked out of the lounge. He looked at young Master Hao and said with a smile, "Let's go." His smile was sincere. And when he showed such a smile, it meant that he also recognized young Master Hao as a friend. Yes. He didn't want to use young Master Hao anymore. And he didn't want to let down young Master Hao's friendship. Otherwise, his conscience would feel uneasy. Of course, he wouldn't give up snatching the five-colored crystal because of this. Because the five-colored crystal was related to the safety of Yan Wei's entire tribe. After all, Yan Wei's tribesmen were now in the hands of the mysterious lady. And the mysterious lady was also a person who would do what she said. If he dared to change his mind at this time, then none of Yan Wei's tribesmen would survive. One had to know. That was millions of people. So there were some things that he had no choice. As for the future, what his relationship with young Master Hao would become, it could only depend on fate. Buzz. Young Master Hao opened a portal and the two walked in one after another. In the deepest part of the main tower, there were endless mountains and rivers, with overlapping peaks and verdant grass and trees. Below the mountain stream, there were many courtyards of various sizes. Every courtyard was independent, and it was extremely quiet and secluded. Whoosh! In front of one of the courtyards, Qin Feiyang and young Master Hao appeared out of thin air. The courtyard was located in front of a lake. At this time, the sun had just risen, the morning sun spread over the earth, and everything was revived. The clear lake was also covered with layers of dazzling waves. And in the courtyard, there was a two-story pavilion, with an antique style, full of an elegant and quiet atmosphere. In front of the door of the pavilion, there was a flower bed, with hundreds of flowers in full bloom, attracting bees and butterflies. The strong fragrance of the flowers could be smelled from far away. And a winding path, winding through the flower bed, led to the pavilion and a pavilion. At this time, the main tower master was standing in the pavilion, with his eyes slightly narrowed, as if he was closing his eyes to rest. And in front of him, there was a stone table with a piece of snow-white paper on it. Next to the paper, there was a brush, an inkstone, and ink neatly placed. Seeing the appearance of the head pagoda master, young Master Hao rolled his eyes. Then, he said to Qin Feiyang, "My family's old man likes to play with words. Brother Mu, please don't take offense." Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Brother Hao, don't look down on playing with words and ink." "Why?" Young Master Hao was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, "Playing with words and ink can cultivate one's temperament and stabilize one's state of mind. It is of great help to one's cultivation." Ugh! Young Master Hao was stunned, and said with a wry smile, "My old man said the same thing, and even told me to try, but I'm really not interested. Everyone has their own ambitions." Qin Feiyang laughed. "That's nice to hear, unlike my old man, who always says that I'm idle and don't do my job. Actually, I'm also very wronged. Although I often take my friends out to play, it doesn't delay my cultivation." Young Master Hao said with a sullen face, looking very wronged. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Without opening the door to potential, to be able to cultivate to the 9-star war sect within 100 years, young Master Hao's talent could be considered 1 in 10,000. But if young Master Hao could calm down and cultivate, he might not have come to ask for his help today. Of course. As the only son of the main tower master, he did have the capital to play. After all, there was no pressure. "Let's go in." Young Master Hao kicked open the gate of the courtyard and swaggered in. "Does he have a problem with his father?" Qin Feiyang's face twitched, and he quickly followed. The two of them passed through the flower bed and walked to the pavilion. "Greetings, Chief Pagoda Master." Qin Feiyang bowed and said. However, the Chief Pagoda Master acted as if he didn't hear him and still closed his eyes. "Don't talk at this time, because even if you do, he won't pay attention to you. Just watch." Young Master Hao whispered in Qin Feiyang's ear, then went straight into the pavilion and sat on the stone bench opposite the Chief Pagoda Master. Qin Feiyang also followed him into the pavilion and stood to the side, silently looking at the Chief Pagoda Master. Time passed breath by breath. After about 100 breaths, the Chief Pagoda Master suddenly took a deep breath. Qin Feiyang immediately knew that the Chief Pagoda Master had begun to write. He glanced at young Master Hao and saw that young Master Hao was indifferent, so he took the initiative to step forward, pour out the ink, and grind the ink for the Chief Pagoda Master. The Chief Pagoda Master also finally opened his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang's actions with a hint of admiration in his eyes. But he didn't say anything. He grabbed the brush and wrote on the white paper on the table unhurriedly. Every stroke he wrote seemed to be vigorous and powerful, but it was also filled with an ethereal aura. And there was no pause at all. It was like moving clouds and flowing water, all in one go. Furthermore, there seemed to be a formless demonic power contained within those words. It caused Qin Feiyang's state of mind to calm down. Chapter 945. What a good word. Qin Feiyang murmured. Young Master Hao looked at him in confusion. The Chief Pagoda Master also looked at him in surprise, then put down the brush and asked with a smile, "Why do you say so?" Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, then said, "Because I saw your painstaking efforts in the word." "Oh?" The Chief Pagoda Master was immediately interested and said with a smile, "Tell me about it." Hearing this, young Master Hao looked at the word on the white paper again, but he didn't see anything. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and frowned. "It's just a word. What painstaking efforts can there be? Brother Mu, don't be deliberately mystifying." "Deliberately mystifying?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, the ancients said that stillness can give birth to calmness, and calmness can give birth to wisdom. Of course, the word stillness here doesn't refer to the stillness of external objects, but the stillness of the soul. Only with a calm heart can one's body and mind be as one, see through the essence of the world, and comprehend the root of all things. Similarly, there is a saying in Buddhism and Taoism that stillness can lead to enlightenment, and also to enlightenment. Qin Feiyang then turned to look at young Master Hao and said with a smile, "If I'm not wrong, the chief pagoda master wrote the word stillness specifically for you, Brother Hao." "For me?" Young Master Hao was stunned. "Yes. The chief pagoda master hopes that Brother Hao can understand the true meaning of this word and concentrate on cultivation in the future," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Young Master Hao frowned and looked at the chief pagoda master. But the chief pagoda master didn't say anything. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I finally know why Elder Wang likes you so much." "He likes me?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "You don't know yet, do you? Elder Wang was full of praise for you in front of me. In fact, from the looks of it, he even wanted to take you as his disciple," the chief pagoda master said with a smile. Qin Feiyang was stunned, then he shook his head and smiled bitterly. Chief pagoda master sighed deeply. He looked at young Master Hao and said, "Hao, if you had even half of his wisdom, I would be satisfied. Am I really your son?" "Yes, he is about to become your personal disciple. In the future, we can be considered as a family. But there isn't one yet, is there? Is there a need for you to talk about me like that in front of him? Besides, haven't I already broken through to the battle saint rank?" Young Master Hao was obviously displeased and felt that he had lost face. "Breakthrough?" The chief pagoda master was startled. He carefully sized up young Master Hao and was overjoyed. Previously, Xiao Chun had been so focused on talking to Qin Feiyang that he did not notice the change in young Master Hao's aura. "How is it? I didn't embarrass you by becoming a battle saint in less than 100 years, did I?" Young Master Hao said proudly. The chief pagoda master rolled his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Can you tell me how many years you've been cultivating?" "Me?" Qin Feiyang looked at young Master Hao with a hesitant expression. Young Master Hao said, "It's fine. I'm not afraid of being shocked. Just tell me. It's been too long. I can't remember clearly. I guess it's been 200 years. Qin Feiyang said vaguely. Young Master Hao immediately laughed and said, "See, I'm still the best. Look at how proud you are." The chief pagoda master glared at him, then looked at Qin Feiyang again and transmitted his voice, "Thank you." "Thank me?" Qin Feiyang was startled. He was puzzled and asked, "Why do you say that, sir? I can see that you're not telling the truth. I also know that you're not telling the truth because you don't want my son to be shocked. In the future, please help me take care of him. After all, you're all young people. There's no generation gap." The chief pagoda master transmitted his voice. "Okay." Qin Feiyang secretly replied. The chief pagoda master said with a smile, "All right, back to the topic. I'll take you to a place." "I want to go too." Young Master Hao hurriedly said. "You?" The chief pagoda master frowned. After pondering for a moment, he nodded and said, "All right, since you've already broken through to the battle saint realm, you can give it a try." After saying that, he flicked his sleeves and swept up Qin Feiyang and young Master Hao into the sky, flying deeper into the sky. The chief pagoda master's speed was extremely fast. The mountains and rivers below flashed by like lightning. Qin Feiyang and young Master Hao could only see blurry reflections. About 100 breaths later, the chief pagoda master suddenly slowed down. The mountains and rivers below immediately appeared clearly in front of Qin Feiyang's eyes. The mountains below were stacked on top of each other, towering and majestic. Ferocious birds spread their wings and flew in the air. They were as big as mountains and as small as sparrows, but without exception, they all exuded an extremely terrifying aura. And in the mountains, there were even groups of ferocious beasts. Boom! Suddenly, a series of deafening noises could be heard from somewhere below. Qin Feiyang looked over and was instantly shocked. There was actually a few hundred mountains moving quickly there. The earth was trembling because of it. The mountains could actually move. Did he see a ghost? Young Master Hao transmitted his voice, "That's not a mountain, it's a stone beast." Stone beast? Qin Feiyang was shocked. He had also heard of this kind of ferocious beast. It was also a species from 10,000 years ago. And its appearance was just like a mountain. If it lay on the ground without moving, no one would notice that it was a ferocious beast at all. But the ferocious beasts here were a bit too strong, weren't they? According to his observation, most of the ferocious beasts and birds here had the strength of a battle emperor. As if seeing Qin Feiyang's doubts, young Master Hao transmitted his voice, "The existence of these ferocious beasts is only to guard a place." Qin Feiyang was surprised. What kind of place would need so many powerful ferocious beasts to guard? The land of inheritance. Young Master Hao said. The land of inheritance? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Young Master Hao secretly said, "You'll know when we get there." The deeper they went, the more shocked Qin Feiyang became. Because in the depths, almost all of them were Battle Emperor-level ferocious beasts. Soon, a huge mountain came into sight. That giant peak stood tall and upright among the mountains. It was taller and more majestic than any other mountain, towering into the clouds. However, the peak of that huge mountain was very strange. It was as if someone had once used a huge axe to chop it. It was as flat as a mirror. That's the land of inheritance. Young Master Hao transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyang. He looked at the peak of the mountain with a strong desire in his eyes. Qin Feiyang raised his head and saw a few blurry stone statues on the flat peak of the mountain. Very tall, very big. Although he could not see the faces of those stone statues clearly, he could already feel a strong pressure. Shwa. 10 breaths later. The chief pagoda master led the two of them to the peak of the mountain. Qin Feiyang glanced at the peak of the mountain. The peak of the mountain was about half a mile long. It was paved with a layer of dark stone bricks, emitting an ancient aura. In the middle of the peak of the mountain, there were 4 stone statues standing side by side. From left to right. The first stone statue was of an old man with white hair. He wore a white robe and had a kind face. His body was emitting an ethereal aura. The second stone statue was of a middle-aged man. He wore a black robe. His long hair was draped over his shoulders. His hands were behind his back. His pitch-black eyes were looking down at the ground. His entire body exuded an astonishingly sharp aura. The third stone statue was of a woman. Compared to the previous 2 stone statues, she was particularly petite, but her aura was more outstanding. Her silky black hair was tied up high with a golden hairpin inserted in the middle, making her look graceful and luxurious. Her facial features were delicate, and she was tall. She wore a light golden long dress that dragged on the ground. A true phoenix pattern was embroidered on the dress. She looked like an empress who had descended to the world with a great majesty. When Qin Feiyang looked at the 4th stone statue, it was like a bolt from the blue. His mind rumbled. The 4th stone statue was the same as the 2nd stone statue. It was also a middle-aged man. But the difference was that he was wearing a purple gold dragon robe. His entire body was emitting a shocking domineering aura. And in his hand, he was holding a broken sword. Wasn't this his ancestor? How could this be? Qin Feiyang's mind was in a mess. One must know. This was the inheritance ground of the chief pagoda. The so-called inheritance ground was actually the place to accept the inheritance. This place could be said to be the most important forbidden area of the chief pagoda. And his ancestor, as the first emperor of the great Qin Empire, how could his statue appear here? Greetings to the three ancestors. Suddenly, the chief pagoda master's voice sounded, waking Qin Feiyang up. Ancestor? There was a trace of surprise in his eyes as he followed the chief pagoda master's gaze. Immediately, his body and mind tensed up. He saw that under the first, second, and third stone statues, there was an old man sitting cross-legged. These three old men had white hair and their eyes were like gold coins. There was not the slightest aura on their bodies. It was impossible to distinguish their cultivation. But Qin Feiyang could clearly feel a strong sense of crisis from the three of them. Greetings to the three ancestors. Young Master Hao also put away his frivolous attitude and bowed to the three people. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was still looking at the three of them as if nothing had happened, young Master Hao hurriedly sent a sound transmission. Brother Mu, what are you doing? Hurry up and salute. Qin Feiyang quivered and hurriedly bowed, saying, this disciple admires the ancestors, greets the three seniors. However, in the face of Qin Feiyang and the other two's salute, the three old men did not open their eyes, nor did they say a word. Seeing this situation, Qin Feiyang's heart suddenly felt inconceivable to the extreme. It was understandable that these three old men ignored him and young Master Hao. After all, they were juniors. But the chief tower master was the person with the highest authority in the Forgotten Continent. To put it bluntly, he was the ruler of the Forgotten Continent. So no matter what, in the face of the chief tower master's salute, they should at least reply. But these three people did not move at all, as if they did not put the chief tower master in their eyes at all. This was something worth pondering. Even the chief tower master did not pay attention to them. What kind of role did these three people play in the chief tower? But the chief tower master was not surprised by the three people's attitude, nor did he have the slightest trace of anger. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, do you know who they are? Qin Feiyang shook his head. Let me introduce them to you. The first statue is our Pill Tower's ancestor, who is also the first chief tower master. The Pill Tower was also founded by him. The second statue is the second chief tower master. He is also the ancestor's only disciple. As for the third statue, she is the previous chief tower master. Moreover, she is the daughter of the second chief tower master, and also my senior sister. Chapter 946. Senior sister? Qin Feiyang was surprised. He looked at the chief tower master and said, so, you're the disciple of the second chief tower master? Yes. But because my talent is much worse than senior sister's, master passed the position of chief tower master to senior sister. Until 10,000 years ago, when senior sister met with an accident and had no successor by her side, everyone let me take the position of chief tower master. If senior sister were still here, the current Pill Pagoda might be completely different. The chief tower master sighed. There was a touch of disappointment between his eyebrows. Met with an accident? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Who would dare to harm the chief tower master? However, he also knew what to ask and what not to ask. Phew. The chief tower master took a deep breath and calmed his emotions. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, do you know why I brought you here? Qin Feiyang shook his head. In our chief tower, there has always been a rule that only those who have obtained the inheritance of the previous generations can become the chief tower master's disciple. The chief tower master said. It's really an inheritance. Qin Feiyang was secretly happy. Because as long as it was an inheritance, he would inevitably obtain great benefits. The Chief Tower Master said, "Now, as long as you can obtain the inheritance of any Chief Tower Master, I will officially accept you as my disciple." Qin Feiyang looked at the three statues, then looked at the statue of the ancestor, and asked suspiciously, "Whose statue is that?" This sentence seemed to have touched the Chief Tower Master's heartstrings, and his eyes suddenly sank. His hands and his sleeves were tightly clenched together. Qin Feiyang was surprised. What did this mean? Could it be that the Chief Tower Master and the ancestor were enemies? But no, if they were enemies, the Chief Tower Master would definitely not allow the ancestor's statue to be placed in the place of inheritance. What secret was hidden in this? Qin Feiyang glanced at young Master Hao from the corner of his eyes and transmitted his voice, "Brother Hao, do you know?" "I don't know. I've been here a few times before, so I'm not unfamiliar with the statue. But as for who it is, my father never told me." Young Master Hao said to himself. It seems that there must be a story behind this. Qin Feiyang mumbled. The Chief Pagoda Master looked at the statue of the first emperor. After a moment of silence, he said, "He is a famous figure, but it has nothing to do with the inheritance." "Oh." Qin Feiyang nodded and did not continue to ask. Chief Pagoda Master withdrew his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang and young noble Hao. He asked, "Which one of you will go up first to receive the inheritance?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Brother Hao, you go first. After all, you are the host. Then I won't stand on ceremony." Young Master Hao excitedly walked up to the three statues and bowed to them one by one. Immediately after, he retreated more than 100 feet and stood in front of the three statues. He bowed again and then cut his fingertip. 3 drops of blood flew into the air and entered the glabella of the three statues. Next, young Master Hao then closed his eyes, looking extremely pious. "This inheritance needs blood to open?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. This kind of situation was nothing for others, but for him, it was a very troublesome problem. Because his purple gold dragon blood was too special. And the Chief Pagoda Master, judging from his previous expression, must have known the first emperor. Since he knew him, then it was very likely that he also knew that the blood of the first emperor was also purple gold dragon blood. In this way, when the Chief Pagoda Master saw that he also had purple gold dragon blood, he would definitely associate him with the ancestor. How would he explain at that time? Buzz! Suddenly, the statue of the second Chief Pagoda Master bloomed with a hazy light. Did it work? Qin Feiyang hurriedly looked over, a touch of surprise crawling up in his eyes. At the same time, the Chief Pagoda Master also looked up at the stone statue with an unconcealable joy on his face. Almost in the next moment, a white divine light flashed out from the glabella of the statue and entered the top of young Noble Hao's head like lightning. Young Noble Hao immediately entered an ethereal state. After 100 breaths, the light on the statue began to slowly dissipate. But young Noble Hao showed no signs of waking up. Until another 100 breaths passed, he suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 rays of light burst out of his eyes. "How is it?" The Chief Pagoda Master hurriedly walked up and asked. Young Noble Hao raised his head and glanced at the Chief Pagoda Master. A sly look flashed in his eyes, then slowly got up, and said in disappointment, "I only inherited an inferior battle art." "What?" The Chief Pagoda Master's face turned pale. At the same time, the 3 old men also opened their eyes, their old eyes full of suspicion. Qin Feiyang also had a look of astonishment. Inferior battle art? What kind of joke is this? How could someone leave an inferior battle art to a descendant? Young Noble Hao glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others, then looked at the Chief Pagoda Master and sighed, "I'm sorry to disappoint you." Sigh. The Chief Pagoda Master looked at young Noble Hao and finally sighed, his expression incomparably lonely. That look was more like he had aged more than 10 years. But suddenly, young noble Hao laughed and said, "Old man, I lied to you, I got a divine art." Divine art? The chief pagoda master was stunned. "You didn't expect that there would be a day when you would be deceived by me, awesome." Young noble Hao laughed out loud, with a hint of ridicule at the corner of his mouth. "Little bastard." The chief pagoda master flew into a rage and directly slapped young noble Hao's head, causing him to grimace in pain. "Serves you right." The three old men glanced at young noble Hao with schadenfreude, then closed their eyes again. At the same time, Qin Feiyang looked at young noble Hao, a bright light flashing in the depths of his eyes. He never thought that what was passed down was actually a divine art. This was a huge temptation. Now he didn't know how to choose. Accept the inheritance? But what if the chief pagoda master recognized the purple gold dragon blood? Actually, the exposure of the purple gold dragon blood would not expose his identity for the time being. Because, in the entire Forgotten Continent, only the Mu family knew that he had just awakened the purple gold dragon blood. So as long as the Mu family did not say it, even if the purple gold dragon blood was exposed, no one would associate him with Qin Feiyang. But he had to consider the relationship between him and the ancestor. If the chief pagoda master really knew that the ancestor was also the purple gold dragon blood, if the chief pagoda master really had a grudge against the ancestor, then when he showed the purple gold dragon blood, it would definitely arouse the chief pagoda master's suspicion. At that time, he would also inevitably ask about his identity. If it was someone else, he might be able to make up an excuse and dodge it. But this chief pagoda master, from the word quiet he wrote, Qin Feiyang already knew that he was not a simple character. Dodge? It would probably only backfire. But he was unwilling to give up. Because he had worked so hard for so long, for this moment. Not to mention that there was a high chance of getting the divine art. Moreover, the mysterious lady also said that the five-colored crystal stone was on the chief pagoda master. If he didn't become the chief pagoda master's disciple, he wouldn't have the chance to get it. What should he do? Qin Feiyang's heart was in a mess. The chief pagoda master reprimanded young noble Hao a few words, then turned to look at Qin Feiyang, and laughed, "It's your turn." It could be seen that he was very happy and gratified. "Come on." Young noble Hao also looked at Qin Feiyang and gave Qin Feiyang an encouraging look. Qin Feiyang looked at the three statues. On the surface, there was nothing strange, but in his heart, he was struggling. What are you waiting for? Go quickly, maybe you can also get a divine art. Seeing this, young noble Hao urged. How can the divine art be so easy to get? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. How do you know if you don't try? Young noble Hao rolled his eyes at him, walked behind Qin Feiyang, and pushed Qin Feiyang towards the statue. Okay, I can walk by myself. Qin Feiyang looked at him helplessly, and then, like young noble Hao, walked to the three statues and bowed one by one. Then he also walked to the position where young noble Hao received the inheritance, turned to look at the three statues, and let out a long breath. He was going to take a gamble. Because if he went back on his word now, it would arouse the chief pagoda master's suspicion. But just as Qin Feiyang raised his arm and was about to cut his fingertip, the old man sitting cross-legged below the first chief pagoda master suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang. Wait. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. Could it be that he had already been seen through before it even began? The chief pagoda master, young noble Hao, and the other two old men also opened their eyes one after another and looked at the old man in confusion. The old man said hoarsely, "This old man has a few words that I want to say to him alone. Can you all leave first?" Alone? The chief pagoda master and the others looked at each other, their eyes full of suspicion. The old man said, "It won't take too much time. All right. The other two old men stood up, turned into a stream of light, and disappeared into the mountain stream below like lightning. Since the two old ancestors had left, the chief pagoda master naturally didn't dare to say anything. He waved his hand and quickly led young noble Hao into the mountain stream below. Qin Feiyang frowned imperceptibly, looked at the old man, and asked puzzledly, "Senior, what is the meaning of this?" The old man said, "Then answer this old man first, what are you hesitating about?" Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. "Enough chit-chat, while they are not here, quickly open the inheritance." The old man said indifferently. Qin Feiyang was surprised. This old man was actually helping him. But why? "Hurry up," the old man urged. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly and quickly cut his fingertip. 3 drops of purple gold dragon blood flowed out, and in the blink of an eye, merged into the forehead of the 3 statues. Looking at the purple gold dragon blood, the old man's eyes flashed with an imperceptible light. "You can come up." Then the old man shouted to the chief pagoda master and the other 3, then closed his eyes and fell silent. "Thank you, senior." Qin Feiyang bowed, then sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes. Although he was very confused, he knew that even if he asked, the old man might not tell him, so there was no need to waste time. Soon after, the chief pagoda master and the other 3 also flew to the top of the mountain one after another. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was accepting the inheritance, they didn't disturb him. Time slowly passed. About 300 breaths passed, but the 3 statues didn't move at all. What's going on? Could it be that he failed? Young noble Hao muttered, his brows tightly knitted together. The inheritance here can only be obtained by the fated person. And obviously, this child is not the fated person. The chief pagoda master whispered, a trace of regret on his face. He was quite satisfied with Qin Feiyang.